Constellation, Last Stand Media's conversational podcast, is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our podcast network, head to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to Constellation, Last Stand Media's conversational podcast. It's good to have you back with us. My name is Colin Moriarty. I'm joined as always by my brother Dagan Moriarty. Dagan, good to see you today. How are you today, my friend?
I am so happy to see you guys. Look, we have important people to introduce, but I have to tell you guys this story real quick, okay? There's a guy in my neighborhood we dubbed Magic Mike, and I'm going to tell you the Magic Mike story. Okay?
Here we go.
Here we go. Listen to this. This is what I have to deal with. This is the newest thing in my life. Okay, so we're eating dinner the other night. Amazon delivery guy walks up to the door. Nothing out of the ordinary. Dog's going crazy. Of course, that means it's the mailman or something. Somebody's approaching the house. Look outside. It is an Amazon person, but this is a new guy. Haven't seen him before. Let me tell you why he stood out. Guys, and I say this with I'm a straight guy. Guy was handsome. Mm-hmm. The guy was hot. Okay. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing why he stood out like a sore thumb and why I have a little bit of an issue with this. It's not appropriate. Guy's like 6'2" if he's an inch. Okay. Mm-hmm. He's wearing his Amazon vest with nothing underneath it. He's completely topless with the Amazon vest open.
How many last Stand Media members do you think are masturbating right now? Right now. Keep going.
I'm gonna go further with the details.
Like this is for the higher Patreon tier. Keep going, baby.
Erotic fiction.
He's got short shorts on, not quite Daisy Dukes, but he's got the quads are gleaming. Right, this guy's muscular, right? He's got the short shorts on. He's got work boots on. So a little bit of like Village People vibes, but he's young. He's like in his 20s. Okay. Just no hair on his body. He's got his hairless chest hanging out of his Amazon vest. And of course, Helene's like, what the, it was so ridiculous that you had to say something. We had to cut the tension by just acknowledging, yes, this guy is gorgeous. What the hell is he doing?
The sexual tension.
I don't mean to interrupt, but that door behind you, that green door.
Yeah.
Is that the closet you're about to come out of? That's just curious. Sorry, keep going.
How can you tell that's a closet? Yeah, I guess you can.
It looks like the TARDIS to me, but anyway, keep going.
So this is the guy. This is the newest character in the neighborhood. Now the guy's obviously this guy. This is his route. This is who we see every day, right? And I'm just, you know what? The other thing he does, the guy knows it. I think that's the thing that's aggravating to me now. One of the things is that he knows it because he'll park his van. None of the other drivers do this. He'll park his van like in between the two cul-de-sacs and just go on foot. So he could linger and kind of show himself off as much as possible. Like he'll walk 10 houses and just leaves his van in that one central spot and just kind of walks everywhere. Like he's working it. All the housewives, I'm sure, are flipping out. I'm sure they're all commiserating on text. Here comes Magic Mike.
Finger blasting themselves.
Oh
my God.
It's like on Next Door. I came. Did you come? No, not yet. I'll get back to you.
Oh my God.
Well, what's weird about this story is, first off, Amazon employees, I don't know if it's true rumor, they piss in bottles. That's how poorly they're treated. So I don't imagine they worry about a dress code. But it's weird that Amazon's like, yeah, sure, wherever, don't wear a shirt. I mean, really? Plus, you don't tip them. So what's in it for this guy? It's
That's the thing. I'm wondering if this guy's kind of working for tips. And I'm wondering if he might not get them. I have a couple of Georgia washes ready for this guy.
I'll be honest Georgia wash. Yeah.
And listen,
please.
I don't think he leaves a warehouse like this. There's no way. It's way too obvious. Like he looks like Matthew McConaughey in.
Did you speak to him when he came to the door?
He just comes up and leaves it on there's no interaction.
Okay.
At least not yet.
You got to figure that. You got to get to that, Step this game up a little bit.
I mean, you think he's, as a straight guy, though, you look at him and say he's, objectively really attractive.
He stood out like a sore thumb. It was like watching 300 play out on my front lawn with like
so
one
if you
dude.
came home one day from work or whatever, or from the grocery store, and your wife was enjoying Magic Mike, the Amazon guy, would you go, yeah, it sucks, but I understand? Because you would fuck him, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
That's right. That's an interesting
Welcome back
story.
to Side Scrollers. We're going to talk about
Side Scroller. By the way, you did David Jaffe. That's you. Welcome to the show.
Yes.
You
Thank
did
you
Side Scrollers. I just did that podcast a few weeks ago. How was your experience?
We talked for 5.5 hours.
Oh, wow.
It was a 5.5 hour podcast.
I enjoyed
it. I enjoyed it. That's what Magic Mike said. I enjoyed it very, very much. I knew we were going to talk a little bit about Starfield pronoun stuff, but short of that, I wasn't prepared with the data I wish I would have had, because it was a very, I like conversations like that. It was a very political, right versus left, liberal, progressive think versus, people who believe the Bible is real conversation. And I don't mean real. I know it's a real book, but I mean like it's a literal word for word.
I didn't know Craig was like a young Earth.
Craig's not, but Melanie Mack was on.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And but I enjoyed it actually. I thought it was a lot of fun to do. I like heated discussions, and it never really got out of line and got personal for the most part. Except one point where I told Melanie she wasn't intellectually capable of having the conversation with me. But short of that, it did not get too personal. So it was fun, man. Thank you for introducing me.
No, I'm glad to do it. I was on that show. I know Craig from back when he was doing.
Wait, I'm sorry. Am I the only one that Colin's gotten real quiet all of a sudden?
Oh, am I quiet?
Just for me.
I can hear you.
Okay, it's on my end. It's on my end. Sorry. So you know Craig from Screw Attack.
Yeah. No, sorry. I hope that's not on our end. Yeah, I know him from the Screw Attack days, and then when I was with Kind of Funny and we were with Rooster Teeth, they did whatever that was, Game Attack or whatever that was. So I know he was always very nice to me. I didn't know what when Destin obviously is a friend of mine, and he goes back to Screw Attack, but really I share the provenance with IGN with him. But Melanie was on the show once. I had her on Sacred Symbols Plus a year or so ago. I had no idea she was a young Earth creationist. That's interesting. And
she
I'd be
said
interested to talk to her about that.
I told her, I said, will you come on my show and talk religion? And maybe we should all three of us talk to her.
That'd be fun.
It'd be fun. But I was amazed that, because she said to me, she was raised very religious. Then she went off and became atheist agnostic. And then she came back to the fold. So I'm curious about that journey and sort of what occurred to make her say, I'm going back to this idea that the earth is 5,000 years old. So, I got to know.
Yeah, that's young Earth creationism is just a step too far for me because it's so materially not true. I don't mind people's faith and what they believe or whatever, but I always am interested in that. You must be familiar. I bring it up sometimes. You must be familiar with the Ken Ham, Bill Nye debate, right? From 2014 about young Earth creationism. You have got to look that up. Okay. It's famous. It's a famous debate. Ken Ham is this guy from Kentucky who runs the Creation Museum.
He's
actually this Australian American dude. And yeah, exactly. And he has like they built like the life-size ark there and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So he debated Bill Nye on young Earth creationism, and it's really, really interesting because the things that these people or those kinds of people believe, in my estimation, is like, I can't believe you think that.
Here's what becomes really, really hard.
The sky is there, or whatever. I don't care about that. That you think the fossil record is a fake or whatever is very interesting to me. Yeah.
Here's what becomes really hard though, is that statement of, it's like we're wired or we're conditioned to make this statement of like, hey, I respect the fact that you have your religion, blah, blah, blah. It's just, it's not for me or whatever. That's the polite thing to say. But the more I live, the more I wonder how much of that is lip service, because can you really respect someone who and I don't mean this like as a human, they deserve to live and have a good life and all that. Of course, I believe that. But as an intellectual equal, as someone that you want to share air with and actually engage with in working together or what have you, don't you kind of have to look at them as a little undercooked? I mean, I don't mean that mean, but I mean, you literally believe you have all this evidence and you believe this 5,000-year-old theory. I mean, there's got to be a point where you say you're not smart.
Yeah, I struggle with this only because it's hard for me to say that I'm smarter than Isaac Newton or Thomas Aquinas and
Sure, but they had
Thomas
it was
More and
you're
all.
only as smart as your data and how willing you are to parse the data and listen to it. They didn't have the data you have.
Right, but like Isaac Newton was an alchemist. He believed in like all sorts of crazy shit, but he also created calculus. He also, did it. So I have a hard time and like understood action. Can you imagine being him 400 years ago and being like, oh, action at a distance? Everyone's like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, these two things are related to each other somehow. Like that are like point. So I just think that to me, I have one iota of his intelligence, and yet he believed things that were insane. So that to me is.
So then what do you think that is then? Is that it's like everybody, I mean, I certainly think everybody has value, but is it like, look, there are certain things you believe that make me think you're not playing with the full deck, but that doesn't mean other things you believe are not incredibly bright. I mean, maybe that's the line you have to walk in dealing with people that have such extreme views of things. I
think what you're saying though, Jaffe, I think is true in that there's a level of politeness to it or like a social acceptance of it. But I also think it's important to put that out there so that I get the same treatment back. So like do unto others, which the golden rule. But ironically, I understand what you're saying because it's hard for me to take a lot of that stuff seriously, but I would imagine I believe or think things that they would feel the same way about. I just try to be open-minded about that stuff. I also think there's just a lot we don't know. I don't think that a lot of it has to do with the earth being 5,000 years old, but I think there's probably stuff about energies and beings and I don't know. I have no idea.
100%. 100%.
That's why I stopped being, Dagan and I grew up Catholic. Dagan is still Catholic. Our parents are devout Catholics. But I consider myself an atheist from probably middle school until 5 years ago. And then I was like, no, I'm like an agnostic. Because atheism is just as declarative. That's its own article of faith.
Yeah.
And I there's just too much about space and time and all this we don't understand. Anyway, Jaffe, welcome to the show. Micah.
Thank you.
Micah Watson, welcome to the show, my dear. How are you? Looking like a snack.
Oh, goodness. Well, thank you. I'm doing all right. I'm a little tired today, but I got myself an iced coffee on the side over here. So
I'm sorry for what you've gone through.
You'll see me sipping that.
What'd you go through?
Oh, so the past 2 nights, Treble has woken up between like 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. with an upset tummy. And and she pooped on the carpet. So it happened the other night. I had to take her downstairs. I ended up taking her out several times between like 4 a.m. and like 8 a.m. And then we finally fell asleep on the couch. It was horrible. And then it happened again last night. And it's only happening at night. I think I've isolated.
What's he eating?
Well, that's the thing. I think it might have been one of the treats that we gave her, So I haven't given her any since Wednesday, but I think it's still getting out of her system. She was fine all day yesterday. Like she had her incident in the evening. And then she was fine all day. And then it happened again last night. So it's almost like maybe it was the last of it getting out of her system. But
she got nervous. My dog pees when he's nervous, so I wonder if that's maybe something's happening at night, like a big rat, or I don't fucking know. Everybody gives you advice, I know, but have you tried pumpkin? Pumpkin is great for dog stomachs. It absolutely, Yeah,
they do like pumpkin, and there's actually the wet food I give them has pumpkin in it. Right now, she's getting her boiled chicken, and she's getting a little bit of her wet food, which has like the pumpkin in it already. And she does fine with that. So I'm going to give her the chicken for a couple of days. They love the boiled chicken anyways. And that usually soothes her stomach. And then we'll ease back into the normal routine in a couple of days and hope that everything's fine. I'm hoping that's just the treat I gave her.
When you guys have the baby and then this dog becomes like ignored for like 10 years. And the dog's like, what the fuck, lady? I'm pumpkin my stomach. I'll shit on the floor. I swear I'll do it. It's like, no, you're a second-class citizen now.
They definitely are very needy. We worry about Treble specifically because she's so unusually small, even for her breed. So
what is she?
Both of our dogs are Boston Terriers.
Oh, those are great. I love Boston Terriers.
Me too. And Rush is our male Boston. And he's older. He's not older. He's 3, but he's bigger than he should be, like bigger than the breed. You have to be, I think, less than 25 pounds for the Kennel Association or whatever to like give you your papers or whatever. And he's 30 pounds or almost 30 pounds. He's huge. And his dad was even bigger, but he's a purebred Boston. And then we got Treble from the same breeder, like another litter. And she is comically small. Like how big is she?
She's only 14 pounds.
Yeah.
And I think the minimum they're supposed to be 15 pounds.
Yeah. So we have two Bostons that are like on the outs here with it. And they're also, we like to remind them when they do things that they are ranked 100th out of 138 in canine intelligence. So
is that right?
Yeah. And we've been remarking on this recently and interacting with different breeds of dogs. It's so funny, the echelon levels of dog intelligence. Like there are dogs where I speak to them, big dogs, where you speak to them and it's like, I feel like you understand everything I'm telling you right now. Like you totally get it. And then Rush just looks at me with his slightly crooked eye, and just like looks straight ahead at me or whatever. And I'm like, you have no clue.
He's like a frog.
Yeah. He's doing the best he can.
But you're right, though. There are, I mean, and I don't want to get off topic, not that we've established a topic yet, but I mean, there are interesting studies that you can read and watch videos on and whatnot about actual real research going into trying to understand how animals communicate. Because for the longest time, it was just like, whatever. And now they're like, because AI and machine learning and all that, we can really crunch a lot of this data and we can start to really have a better idea, of are they saying something, not literally in our language, obviously. And it's quite cool. I don't know if you've seen those YouTube videos with the buttons for the dogs. Have you seen these?
No.
We have 4 of them, but I was too lazy to train the dog. But if you go to YouTube and type like button dog communication, there are these buttons that it'll be like, yes, no, outside, play, pee pee, poo poo, very simple concepts. And the dogs, if they're smart enough, a lot of them are. I don't know if, the 100th out of 138 would do it. But, if they're smart enough, they can learn what the buttons mean. And it's not so much they understand the concept philosophically of the word yes. But if you say, do you want your toy? Or if you say, what do you want? He'll press the button for toy. Or he wants to go outside, or he wants to play. You should watch these. They'll blow your mind. They're very interesting. So.
Yeah, our dogs definitely aren't capable of doing that, but it reminds me of what you're talking about. It's what the border collie chaser, that famous one that knew like thousands of toys by name. Have you ever seen that, Dake? Like,
no, they're a smart breed.
There's this researcher at some university. Micah and I were watching something about him actually, where he raised this border collie named Chaser, and he was doing these studies on him, and he trained him to know thousands of toys' names.
That's insane.
Right? And he would just throw them all of them out on a lawn or whatever, and then be like, go get the starfish. And it would like literally go through all of them and find it and then like bring back the starfish and shit like that.
There's people not that smart.
Totally.
There really are.
But anyway, so back to side scrollers. No relation to that. But you know what's interesting though? I mean, there's going to come a point though. All the animals, like I was just at the aquarium in San Diego the other day and looking at the octopuses is actually what the plural is. They told me.
Interesting.
Like whatever. But there probably will come a day where we'll realize at least one animal species we have been treating horribly and they just haven't been able to tell us, like maybe more than one. But think about it. There will come a day, what will that be like when humanity realizes, oh shit, these creatures are like that little elf in Harry Potter, the house elf that got treated like shit all the time. And it's like, dude, that's a living conscious creature.
Dobby.
Totally.
Dobby, yeah.
Totally. It's first of all, I've heard that about octopuses or octopi. I just don't want to say the word pusses.
No.
Do we have to say the word?
It was a
pusses?
woman. No, but a woman told me. I said, "Where are your octopi? Is it octopi?" She says, "No, it's octopuses." She says, "I hate that." And the woman who worked at Birch Aquarium was like, "I fucking hate calling it octopuses."
Yeah, I guess it's the proper English, dude. I have this. I mean, this is a whole nother topic, and we'll get into it after this, but. And it would be fun to examine this one day, but I have a very conflicting feeling about the way we treat animals generally and don't have the personal strength to forego eating meat because I love meat so much. But that I am truly eager for the day when they can do lab grown meat that is truly indistinguishable. I'd be like, fine, that's totally fine.
Yeah,
at that point, I would love for that to happen. In the meantime, I do struggle with the fact that we just raise these like cows aren't stupid. Pigs especially are not dumb. Pigs apparently are incredibly smart.
Yeah.
And like we basically are borderline torturing them. It's
well,
great.
when we get
And
to
it's-
Micah's
and
topic,
really have a hard-
there's actually some interesting studies about that, but
I just have a hard time
I'm not
rectifying
going to spoil
that.
your topic, but what's that?
I just have a hard time rectifying like that.
Yeah, me too.
Like it's very weak on my part, but I also but it isn't in the sense that we are made to eat meat. We are omnivores, but we weren't made to do what we're doing either. Like we were supposed to go hunt it and be
It was
part of
supposed to be
the
a treat.
apex predators. Yeah, right. Like you go and run the mammoth off the cliff, and then you eat for 4 months off of it or whatever, and you like wear its skins and worship it and make gods about it and do all that. And now we just have these chickens in a fucking row in these factories just pooping eggs out constantly with no room. They can't even turn around or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Some people say that like that will be one of the major things we look back at in hundreds of years and be like, we can't believe you like our ancestors did that, like slavery level shit, basically.
It's a great point.
And I'm like, I do wonder that. But in the meantime, I'm not strong enough to do anything about it except for to buy like the free range stuff and like buy the organic stuff. And that's like the best you can kind of do, I think. At least
I love the taste of meat, but I won't eat it because it grosses me out because of what you're saying. But I had what do they call it? Impossible, the kind of lab grown non-meat, but it tastes like meat.
Yeah.
I had orange chicken the other day that was sort of vegetarian orange chicken. And I was like, this is great. It doesn't taste exactly like it, but for my purposes, I know I'm not biting into something that was walking around last week. So I'm good.
I think they say the vegan kind of options, the kind of double-edged sword of this is, you're doing right by the animals, but it's way worse for you. Right.
Probably
just the stuff when you look into like all the soy and all the shit they put in all this stuff, it's like, you don't want to eat that either. So there's got to be like a different way. But anyway.
Do you ever think about that? How insane it is actually, obviously our perspective of what death is negative, and maybe in the grand scheme of things, if there is a programmer, a creator or a consciousness, maybe death is like, dude, it's done. One's not better than the other. You don't know what's on the other side. Shut the fuck up. But assuming we're right, plants have been determined not lately, they've always felt it, but we've determined recently that they feel pain, different kind of pain, but they express it through sonics that we can't hear. In order to survive, everything on this planet has to cause pain to something else in order to continue to live. I mean, think about that Hunger Games fucked up bullshit design where it's just like, it's crazy to me. It's like, if there is a God, again, now, if there is a God and he works mysterious ways, maybe he's like, you don't understand death, and maybe that's my bad, or maybe you're not supposed to. That's fine. But short of that, if death is what we think it is and it's not really a happy thing, then it's like, fuck you. What the fuck? What the fuck is going on here? Cause pain to survive. Well, okay, idiot.
That's Jaffe, on an up note, though.
That is an up note.
And on octopussies, you have to watch, if you haven't seen it, the documentary My Octopus Teacher.
I did. No, it was called My Octopus Teacher, or the one about, it's great. It's so fucking great. Yes, I agree. Good. I thought you were going to recommend the 1982 James Bond Roger Moore Octopussy film, which was just terrible.
I've never seen that. Terrible. I've never seen that documentary, but in you saying it now, I feel like it's like what is it called? My
Octopus Teacher.
My Octopus Teacher. It reminds me of like an octopus, like an older woman octopus laying sexually in a bed, and like lingerie, Do
you remember Belle Delphine, that internet girl? She was like, you guys know Belle Delphine?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
She put out pictures of her being sexual with an octopus on her OnlyFans. I don't have OnlyFans, not that I'd be ashamed, but I don't. But I saw them on Twitter and I was like, tentacles and everything.
Wow, so like tentacle porn.
So that was your vision. It just wasn't from this Oscar-winning documentary. It was Belle Delphine did it.
Right. Well, I had I had a vision of like The Graduate or something, like this octopus that's seducing, and that like trying to seduce you, and it's your teacher. He's trying to, what she's trying to teach you.
He's like ushering you into your sexuality.
Right, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
For you it would be an octopus. For your brother, it's Magic Mike. I understand. You guys,
right,
you Moriarty boys.
Magic Mike with 8 legs, though. That's on a whole nother level.
I like the description of the thighs, and they were glistening. I'm just,
glistening quads.
Yeah, glistening quads.
It sounds almost like you were describing our own dad working out or doing yard work in his Daisy Dukes and in his cutoff t-shirts that we always make fun of him in the 80s. Jaffe, I don't know if you've ever been on an episode where we make fun of the way our dad used to dress. Like our dad's 6'3" and like very built or whatever. And he would go mow the lawn in Daisy Dukes that he made himself. And cause he was hot.
Unironically?
Like he didn't give a shit. Like, and just like some cut off like t-shirt or whatever, just looking ridiculous.
And work boots.
Yeah, and work boots.
Right.
Boys, the gay bar stopped by again. I don't know why they keep asking me to go over there every Saturday night, but I got grass to cut. Tell your mom and ask her if the chicken pot pie is ready. If
I was smarter, I would have asked more questions when I was younger, but I just wasn't aware, you know.
What do you
All
think
he needed
about
was
that?
the Indian headdress, and he was full on village people.
Think about that. All the shit your parents did that you don't know about, and if you knew about, you'd be like, fuck, that just destroys the whole thing, right? I mean, totally. I don't know what my dad did. I don't think my mom or dad ever had affairs. Maybe they did. I don't know if
that type of thing.
Yeah,
did they get in a fight with somebody and beat the shit out of somebody? I don't fucking know.
I did find where our parents kept their condoms and marijuana, though, inadvertently when I was a kid. I didn't know what either one of them were, but I had a flashback. They kept a wooden box on top of my dad's dresser. And I remember looking in there one time thinking I'm going to find quarters for Pac-Man or something. And there were like these, there were condoms and it was like weed, like rolling papers and like actual weed. It wasn't even in a bag. It was just like in there. And thinking back, I was like, oh shit, I knew where their drugs were and their condoms. And I was like 7 years old. It was really disturbing. That guy didn't get it then. It got disturbing when I was 13 and I had the flashback.
Yes.
I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, our mom's also much more open about stories from the past. Our dad won't tell us almost anything, but our mom like blows our dad up all the time. Just all the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is he ever on your show? Put him on the show.
Yeah, we had him on. Well, actually, we have a lost episode of Knockback that I fucked up the recording in when the three of us were together back in 2018, I want to say. Yeah. We have like bad audio of it, and maybe we'll put that up one day. But we did do a second one that he was on. And then I did the 9/11 episode with him back on CLS, which was interesting. So yeah, he would. Well, Jaffe, I want to do Growing Up Moriarty, a 3-part series with our sisters as well. But one of our
cool.
One of our sisters, Allie, is totally down for it. But our sister Dana doesn't want to do it, and she's like much more. She's not really a serious person, but she takes things seriously. She's a teacher, and she doesn't want her kids to find it. And like, and I'm like, come on, man. Like, let's do it. And I was like,
we'll get her face like, shadowed and
that would be hysterical if we did
voice
that.
Distortion.
Yeah, like the Love Connection kind of silhouette. All right, we've gone on long enough. I don't want to waste anyone's time more. Dig, I want to begin with you. I thought your topic was an interesting one this week. Actually, we all have interesting topics. I'm going to put Jaffe's last just because it's going to be the most serious, so you can opt out of that if you want. Although I like serious, so you want to stick around for that. But Dig, let's go to you first, and hit me with what you got. Hit me with your best shot.
All right, my friend. I remember. Do you remember the jokes when that? Well, you don't remember because you weren't born, but I was in elementary school when Reagan got shot, and they were playing that song on the radio. And I feel like
hit me with your best shot.
Yeah, it was like a shock jock thing. Like they were playing it on the morning show. I was in like second grade or whatever it was, and I feel like that was a time before the whole sentiment of too soon was a thing. So they just did it, without repercussion really, because who was recording it or anything like that. It was like a one and done thing. But anyway, my topic. Hot takes. And I thought this would be a fun one. If you guys have like one of those things, like a polarizing opinion or a controversial but genuine take, something that you really believe that people tend to not align with you on, but something that you double down on being authentically like your philosophy, like just something you believe in that people are like, what the fuck? It seems like nobody agrees with you if you have one or two of those things. Tell you what made me think about it. I have a couple of funny ones from being a kid. Probably the first instances of thinking like, what's wrong with me? Why does everybody like this thing? Or why is everybody kind of lining up with this one thing and I don't see it? But here's what's making me think of it. And I've been sort of espousing this theory for years, and I don't think I found one person to agree with me on this, but I do think this is a good idea. I'll tell you what it is. If I could get one person to agree with me on this panel, I'll be delighted. All right. And that is generally that I think, at least in this country, in these United States of America, people should have to take their driving test, road test, annually. And I'm not talking about commercial drivers. This doesn't apply to truck drivers or bus drivers or delivery people. I'm talking about just us, general automotive motorists, right? We should have to go to the DMV and take the driver's test annually, if not annually, regularly. Like set a thing every 2 years, right? When we get our car registered, go for the road test too. And I'll tell you why. People drive. The level of people's driving as I get older and older just gets worse. There's no era that passes where I'm like, oh, well, 2021 was all right. People seem to be, it's just getting worse and worse. It's going to be like Mad Max out there soon. And you know why I think about it? I'm not even in the car that much anymore because I haven't been commuting for the past 3 years, but I have a 16-year-old that's months away from getting her license, maybe 1 or 2 months, right? She's got her permit now. She's driving around with us in the car, but she's going to be dispatched out on her own soon. And I'm kind of horrified. I was talking to her about it last night, and it's not her because she's a good driver. She had a good teacher. Hey, but I look out every time I'm on the road. I could be going a mile away to like a quick jump to CVS, or I could be going down to Richmond from Philly. It doesn't matter. There's always something where I am absolutely amazed at the shitty level of driving. Here's the other thing. I know I live in a big metropolitan area, but my car insurance rates are fucking ridiculous. I mean, it's like insane. I have to jump from policy to policy like every 6 months because the prices are so bad. I have a perfect driving record, and so does Helene. That's just the level of incompetence on the road, I think. And it drives me bananas. And you know what the other thing is? I like to drive. I really genuinely love to drive, but I don't like to drive around people generally because they're bad drivers. So I don't know. I never really thought this through. Like, okay, let's say you go for the road test, you fail it. What's the penalty? You know, it could be as simple as you have to be off the road for 3 weeks until you could schedule another test. I don't know. It doesn't have to be crazy. It could even be like slap in the wrist but just something to create another obstacle between the good drivers and the bad drivers.
Well, why make so many caveats if you could just say once every 5 years, you straight up have to do it, you know, as opposed to saying like just because I do think it's funny that once the driver's license is the thing, it's like you pass it somewhere once and you're basically in. And you
for like 50 years, 60 years.
Yeah, like you're in any state, anywhere you go, which I think
decades.
is so funny. Now, as the audience knows, I don't drive. I had my permit, and then I had my junior in New York we call the junior's license, which is like your ability to drive before you're 18, between 16 and 18. You can drive to school and you can drive to work and shit like that. Right. But once everyone got that, they just drove wherever they wanted. I don't know if that was true in Dagan's generation too, but that was basically like no one gave a shit once you got your junior's license where you went with your car. I don't know why that was the case. So I ultimately ended up our dad ended up even buying me from his friend who was getting rid of it, like an old Ford Ranger. And then I ended up selling it because I wanted to stay in California longer. My internship at IGN, I was running out of money. So I'm like, oh, I'll just sell my car. And that was literally the only time I ever owned a car in my entire life. And I was 18. So I'm 38 now. So I don't want to speak to it from that level, but I agree with you. Like, especially with older people, see, that to me is what would make it fair.
I hear that sometimes.
It's like just every 5 years for everyone or whatever. And maybe when you reach a certain age, you have to take it more often. But it is weird that you're kind of just in perpetuity forever allowed to have this motor. I just think driving is a major trust thing. And it's almost an incredible trust thing, just the way it works.
Insane.
And like everyone, it's very interesting. Like everyone's kind of just in, like the rules work and the people that break the rules get in accidents, hurt people and all that kind of stuff. But you look around and there's just order because everyone realizes how dangerous it is, which is why I don't want to drive.
It's chaos. Yeah. It's think about it from this perspective. You go on the road, you're in a rush to work. You're with somebody who's just starting out driving. You're with somebody that's been driving for 50 years. You're with a doctor on his way to operate on somebody. You're on the road with somebody who just murdered somebody. It's like, it's just throwing everybody into the mix completely chaotically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's no rhyme or reason to it's insane.
Yeah, cell phones, that seems to be making it
cell
even worse,
phones.
right?
Yeah. I mean, I taught my kids to drive, and I'll tell you, that's my biggest fear too, is you cannot trust people. And, you know, I one of the benefits of my ADD is I'm very focused when I'm driving because I'm terrified and I don't trust anybody in the other lanes because of what you're saying. It's like you're going 70 miles an hour, you know, 2:00 in the morning coming home from Disneyland. Every car I pass is a white knuckle moment because I'm like, I don't know what the fuck they're doing in there.
Yeah.
So I'm with you, man.
Yeah, dude. It's funny that I get so much agreement because I feel like even the most pragmatic or even the most level-headed people that I talk to, even if they think it's a good idea on the surface, they just don't like the idea in terms of they don't want to be bothered by it. They don't want that.
I think
rule
it's
to
the
be
yearly thing that bothers people. It's like, dude, that's a fucking pain.
I don't want to have to go to
But
PennDOT
every 3 years, 5 years, sure.
Yeah, I
think
5 years or like 5 years until you're 50, 3 years after you're 50, something like that.
Yeah,
because just think about
reasonable.
just think about the sheer bureaucracy you're going to have to create to do that. I mean, that's the seriousness of it is like, this is interesting in that you'd have to have, just think about people cycling through and taking their driver's tests. They do it once, right? Or twice if they fail 3 times, and then they're out and they never do it again. But if you have to make like that's going to be like a career, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
You can automate it though. I mean, there's a lot you could do with like saying, okay, the car is registered to this person. Time is up. He needs to do this test. The test is all happening with a disembodied voice in the car. So you don't actually have to hire somebody. The telemetry of that driving test that you do on your own with the AI gets sent to the DMV. If you pass, you get to keep driving. If not, you got to park your car.
Right on. That's
but
awesome.
I will say this. I mean, ultimately, and I don't know what it's like in other countries. I would be surprised if a lot of other countries never make you retake it, but maybe that's the case. But I think, you know, as for this being a bad take or not a hot take, I guess they're different. I don't fucking know. But, you know, I think we are hurting. I know it sounds so terrible and this would be a bad take too, but we're hurting under too much freedom in this country. And I don't mean that like sounds like that's a soundbite. You'll take it. Not you guys, but somebody would take it. And, you know, I don't mean that in a way that a lot of people would take it, but I mean, we can look around and we can recognize as just a population of America, we are not, you know, we are harming each other and ourselves because we refuse to give up an inch. And I understand it's a slippery slope, blah, blah, blah. But the fact of the matter is, if you get in your car, we have the technology. I mean, you can go to a concert and they have the technology to tell your phone, turn off the recording ability because, you know, you can get in a car and it's like, unless this is one of the emergency numbers, your phone won't work. You know, you can get in a car and test if you're drunk. And if you're drunk, the car won't start, but people will not have it. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But imagine the pain that causes on a daily basis of parents and kids being told their parents aren't coming home because some asshole's like, I'm fine, I can do it. I can drive home from the bar. And I get it. It's like, oh, that's the price of freedom. And it's like, yeah, maybe we have a little too much freedom if that's the price of it, is what I would say. But not everybody would agree. I appreciate that. But I hear you and I agree.
That's well said. That's well said, my friend. I want to kick this over to Micah because ladies first, but I'll tell you a funny one I thought of that still applies. I was just thinking about this the other night making dinner. As a kid, and this isn't a thing of like, I want to get it and I just genuinely hate it. I cannot stand and never liked watermelon. This universally beloved food.
Okay. Am I
even as a
kid?
Say it?
Do I have to be the one to say it? Fine, I'll say it. You're kicking it over to Micah. Micah, right? Come on.
It was a ladies first thing. It wasn't a black thing.
I don't know.
I don't even know why that's bad. People go, people always use it as an insult for black people, Kool-Aid and watermelon. I'm like, I fucking love Kool-Aid and watermelon. How is that an insult? But anyway, sorry.
I knew I was broken from a young age because we had field day at school. Watermelon was always the thing. It was always the thing in the summertime generally, but every kid was so excited about watermelon for field day, and I'd be like, I'd look around. There wasn't another person that wasn't just like digging into the watermelon. I was the only one that was like, all right, I guess I'll try it. I'll humor it. But from that moment, and there's been so many other things that lead me to know how broken I am. But that was like a early broken moment where I'm like, what is wrong with me? But I just can't. It tastes like a sweet cucumber to me or something. I'm just like, what is the appeal here? It tastes weird to me. And I'm not a picky eater at all. I like pretty much everything except watermelon. It's a strange thing. So that's a more humorous thing than the driving frustration thing. But I don't think I'll ever, when you're a kid and you have your first taste of beer and it's like, oh my God.
I remember my first taste of beer.
Right?
Yeah, I remember it.
It's shocking. And you're thinking in that moment, how did these people drink this? It's deplorable. It's horrible. And then you grow up and you love it, right? Watermelon, I thought, all right, I'm going to, maybe I have to get a more sophisticated palate. Can't stand it. Cannot stand it. Perhaps I shouldn't have kicked this one over to Micah. But
nonetheless.
Well, you know what? I'll say first, when we're talking about melon, I hate cantaloupe, which seems to be universally loved by white people. Because I remember at my school, they'd always have cantaloupe and all the other children were eating it and I hated it. And I was just like, this is gross. It's a weird texture. Kind of reminds me of like licking a hand. I don't know. So I don't like cantaloupe. And that was always like my weird thing at school. It's like everyone's going bananas over the cantaloupe. And I'm just like, forget that. But they didn't give us watermelon very often. I don't know. Maybe it's because I went to like, I don't know, very, very white school. So they were like, have some honeydew, have some cantaloupe. We don't want to freak them out. But no, so the ones I wrote down for this, they do skew a bit more humorous. But it's things that it's things that keep getting brought up that like I've mentioned these things offhand and then they keep getting brought up like in our comments and such, like on Patreon and everything. And I'm just always surprised that people remember the number one thing being that I don't mind if my socks get wet. And like that just really bothers people. And like it gets brought up completely like with no context. Like I did like a mailbag and somebody commented, I still can't get over the wet sock thing. And someone's like, what's that? And people are like linking to my, like the tweet I made about it one time. But it's just, I have to explain it because like people are like, that's crazy. But you step in water, all right? And people act like it's the end of the world. You got a little water on your sock, like big deal. I'm not talking about your feet being soaked, but like I mop up water routinely with my socks. Like I'm doing the dishes, some water gets on the floor, you just mop it up with your sock. It'll dry. But people act like it's, like an atomic bomb hit and you're like, you got to get out of here. You got to get fresh socks. And I don't know, it's crazy to me. Because the other thing too, being that like if a sock has a hole in it, I'll throw out the whole sock, but I'll keep the good one. And then you just make a match with another sock. And people just have so many hangups about socks. They're like, can't do that. They got to match. They got to be dry. And it bothers me because it really just doesn't seem like a big deal.
You would have been right at home in the trenches of World War I, huh?
Well, like Depression era.
Yeah.
I made a video at one point on Twitter of like, I had a sock with a hole in it and I just paired the good one with a different sock and they were like completely different patterns and people were losing it. Yeah, but it's like, I don't know how you could care, man. Like they're just socks. Who's looking at them? But the wet sock thing like really seemed like people are just like, I can't stand a wet sock. And it's like, I mean, you won't survive the zombie apocalypse, my friend, if you can't stand a wet sock. Like, what are we going to be doing out there? Like, just imagine how filthy and moist we're going to be at all times in the apocalypse, scenario. You can't get hung up on a wet sock or like, oh, my socks don't match. Like, and I guess maybe people maybe that's the hot take in itself. People get hung up on very small things to me. Maybe I'm neurodivergent in a couple other ways, but it's like, it just doesn't seem like a big deal. It just doesn't seem important. But I will say, like, the thing I can't sleep on sheets that are too busy. That's the other thing. Oh. Like, your bed sheets have a pattern on it and I can't sleep. they keep me up at night. So like that's my
because
own
you're
thing.
aware or you're looking at the pattern.
I don't know. I mean, like you just try to sleep on like some floral bed sheets, and man, they're just like kicking you all night. You can't sleep.
Wow,
They're too
that's
busy.
interesting.
The sock people are weird. I understand.
I was about to say you don't have OCD, but now I don't know.
I know.
Although that
She has
one,
something, but yeah, I don't know.
These fucking sheets, Colin. I can't do it anymore.
that one's inherited because my Nana always had the same thing of like my mom would buy her bed sheets and she'd be like, I can't sleep on them, Candy, they're too busy. And she'd be like, I kept me up all night with them pinstripes. And so like you had to buy her like solid color sheets.
Wow.
And maybe that's like a learned behavior, but like I only buy solid color sheets for us. Like you can't get me to sleep on patterned sheets, man. Like I'll be up all night. But so we got that. The other one I wanted to mention was the hot lettuce. And this one, I was surprised at how many people were upset by it. Because like if I'm making myself like a grinder, you know, you got like ham, turkey, lettuce, and you put the whole thing in the oven, like with the lettuce on it, and you toast up the lettuce. And it's just a new experience. It's the best way to make a grinder. They don't like to do it at Subway, but like they will, you know, because I watched the lady, they toasted the mayonnaise for this one woman. And like, so if they do that, you know, they should do the lettuce, but they don't want to.
That sounds like it would be fine, you know?
It smelled so bad though. You didn't understand like the smell in that Subway.
It's not meant to be.
Because she was like, I need you to put the mayonnaise on before you toast it. And the girl looked like horrified, and we all did as well. But the lettuce thing, I mean, you roast other vegetables. Why is lettuce a problem? All right, you can roast broccoli, asparagus, carrots. Like you can roast all these. But I say I put lettuce in the oven and people are losing their minds. It's like, what's the difference? It's a vegetable. It's meant to be toasted. It just, I don't know. That was the other thing. That just like, when they're all vegetables. They're all vegetables, Jerry. So like, what's the difference? Like, where does that fall?
What happens to lettuce when it gets toasted?
Oh man, it gets like hot and wilty. It gets very juicy. Like it adds like the edges get
crunchy?
crispy.
I assume, yeah, crispy. Yeah.
The edges get crispy, but like what you get if you leave the ribs in it, you know, those get like real juicy, kind of soft.
God.
It just adds this texture to the sandwich that like, you know, but you have to try it.
Does Colin, have you eaten this?
No, I'm not going to eat that. I'm not going to do that. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's going to be this like, it's not meant. The difference is that lettuce is really just whatever anyway, right? It's
no. If you
water.
get like the good shredded lettuce, you go to like a real good grinder shop, right? And they give you the shredded lettuce that's like microscopically shredded. You put that in the oven, and it's just like this delightful like wet little haystack on top of your sandwich, and it's so
that sounds
good.
awesome. A wet haystack on top of my sandwich.
My God, Micah, the Earl of Sandwich invented this art form, however many years ago, and you are squandering it. It's so important.
It's just a vegetable. It's just another vegetable. You know, like
what about those people that put the lettuce and they don't use hamburger buns, so they have the meat?
Oh, like the Atkins.
Gross! I saw somebody at work do that once. It was all this fucking shredded meat and then just some lettuce, and I'm like, you're gross. I didn't say that, but in my head, I was disgusting.
You got to eat that with like a fork and a knife, in my opinion.
You got to eat that when you're high as a fucking kite. Is what you got to do.
It's just a salad. Like that's not a sandwich. Like it's a lettuce wrap, and it's like that's a salad. All right, put it in a tortilla at least.
Yeah.
Like have some decorum.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. That's
like bare minimum, you need a tortilla to wrap that up in. The last one I just want to bring up is the egg situation, because Colin's been making scrambled eggs at night. As you know, as his like night snack. We like night snack, right? Like mine's usually like a bowl of cereal or like an English muffin. Colin lately's been making eggs, but he doesn't cook them. They're not done. They somehow take like 15 minutes, but they're not done. And eggs, they gotta be golden brown. They gotta be dry. All right.
What do you mean they're not doing? What do you use to determine that? Like, are they runny?
Oh yeah, no runny eggs, and they got to be like, I want golden brown, I want crispiness. Like if they're scrambled eggs, I want some crispy edges. All right, fried eggs, they got to have the crispiness. They got to be nice and golden. And then the seasoning. When I went home to visit my sister last month, she made me some fried eggs, and we like our eggs the same way. And she did salt, pepper, garlic powder. Mm-hmm. And Colin was like, "That sounds horrible."
Oh, it's
like,
great.
I couldn't imagine that. I was like, "No, it's
garlic
it's
powder."
really
It just seems. I love garlic, but I just feel like that's unnecessary on eggs. Yeah.
Oh no.
What do you put in your eggs when you whisk them? Is it just the egg, or do you put milk, or what do you put in there?
I'll put milk in my eggs if I'm going to make French toast. But but if I'll just make them straight up. Otherwise, I don't mind them being, actually, the milk would help make the eggs kind of enhance the eggs the way I've been cooking them the last couple of days. Because I like my eggs all sorts of different ways, except for the way Micah would make them. Because like, I don't know what she's doing.
With toasted lettuce, of course.
Right. I don't know what the fuck she thinks she's doing to eggs. So I feel like I have a little bit of an authority on this, just a little bit, in that I'm drawing back to my deli experience. When I was in high school, I worked for several years, worked at a deli. I made thousands of egg sandwiches, thousands of egg platters and French toast and pancakes and all the shit Dagan remembers. And I never in my entire life made an egg the way you cook them, where someone's like, to me, they would have to come back and basically just destroy the egg and then go ahead and put it on so I like, what I've been making the last couple of days is scrambled eggs. And what she's talking about is that and my old roommate, Scott Bromley, who works at Disney now, these last years on Star Wars and all the rest, he was our first community manager at IGN, and we lived together. And he used to make fun of me because he'd be like, "You're slow cooking eggs again." Because what I would do is I would scramble a bunch of eggs. This is like what our dad would do at the fire. This is like a firehouse thing or what his buddies used to do. And it's like, you put the heat on, so it's like barely on, and you just move the eggs around.
Yeah.
And the scramble is like a wet scramble basically at the end. And it's so fucking good. It is so good.
I agree with everything except the wet part. I think you put it on medium and you whisk it with, here's what you do. I'm going to tell you, I'm the expert. You put it on medium, you whisk your eggs, and you put heavy whipping cream in there, right? Not tons, but a decent amount. So they get fluffy and golden and awesome. And then you do it. You always are stirring it, but you don't stop stirring it until they are like Micah is describing, where they are crispy on the edges, they're fluffy, they're dry, and then you put some garlic powder on them. They're great, man. But it sounds like you like your eggs, so good for you.
Just so no one makes fun of you, you called Micah Mika again, and everyone's gonna make fun of you for that.
Micah.
Just so you know,
Mika.
Just to save you from that. I feel like Dustin and I have identified that if we and
Dagan's racist, so I win.
They already knew.
Well, Dustin and I have realized a while ago on Sacred Symbols, and we jump in and do what we call protecting each other. We feel like any misstep or mistake on a show is diffused by merely acknowledging it.
It's
totally defensive. It's totally defensive. Otherwise, I could give a shit what anyone says on this show.
No, this came up actually during Punching Up, the last episode. Gene confused telekinesis with telepathy.
Oh, yeah.
But we were so over time that I was like, I can't start this conversation right now. And I just rolled with it. And I saw all the comments talking about how no, you're talking about telepathy, Gene. That's telekinesis. And I was just like, but I didn't want to get into it because we were way over time already. And I was like, I can't start this 20-minute conversation about the difference between telekinesis and telepathy. But in my head, I was like, we're going to get so many comments.
They brought it up
later. Oh, yeah. I mean, you go on.
We were choosing superpowers.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for too long. You got to just it's like whack-a-mole,
Right.
And we'll get into that
Fair
more
enough.
maybe later on. But all right, those are interesting. Oh, so eggs, by the way. So scrambled eggs over easy eggs, sunny side up eggs over hard eggs. I love all that stuff. And you basically do whatever you want to an egg, and I'll eat it. Good shit. The egg is perfect. So I'm trying to just eat fewer carbs. I went and tried on my suit for our wedding or whatever. And just a couple of days ago, and I was so nervous, and Micah knew I was, because I was like, I hope I didn't gain any weight or anything like that. And it turns out I didn't. I don't know why I would, because nothing's really changed. But just paranoid about that. And then I'm like, I got to kind of maybe slow down on the carbs a little bit nonetheless, because at night I'll have my 2 or 3 hour window open, and I'll eat, a bunch of carbs or whatever. And I'm like, I just got to eat something else. And so I was like, I'm going to just eat a bunch of eggs, skyrocket that cholesterol.
What protein?
Yep, protein.
Right.
Good.
That's the trade-off.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Jaffe, we haven't heard from you, I don't think, yet on some of your bad takes.
I mean, honestly, joking aside, I mean, and this was never the intention, since I really started focusing on just doing internet content, a lot of people would tell you that's my brand. I mean, people say I have terrible takes. I get comments all the time of like, I love you, Jaffe. I love your stuff. I don't agree with almost anything you say, but I'll still watch you. And I'm always, and I'm not even joking, where I'm just kind of like, I have those days where I'm looking at my viewer counts and stuff and going, man, I could just twist the knob and just be a little bit more. I know what I'm supposed to say, you know, but I don't want to say that because I don't believe that. Right. Yeah. So a lot of it comes from video game stuff. Like one that's happening right now out in the, you know, on my channel in a couple of places is I put out a video complaining about Spider-Man 2 coming out for PS5. And I said, I'm very excited for it. It looks great. I love Spider-Man, love Insomniac, Miles Morales, my favorite superhero game. I said, but, you know, I think it does show that Sony's formula, at least as it relates to sort of cinematic single-player action-adventure games, is starting to kind of show some cracks. And I'm not saying let's turn it into a first-person shooter, open-world RPG, but, you know, I'm picking up on this and let's have a conversation. I wasn't shoving it into anybody's face. I was just talking. And people would, that's dumb. We like sequels to be exactly what the first one was. Why would you know? And it's just like a fire hose of criticism. And I get that all the time. And what bothers me about it is, you know, I tweeted out, I said, you know, you guys would be surprised how many meetings happen weekly at video game companies around the world where they sit down and beat up on their shit. So that's the culture that I come from because I was as a designer before I was sort of an opiner. That's what you do. You sit there and you go, all right, we're making God of War 2. We're making a new Twisted Metal. We're doing this. We're doing that. What do we want to make better? You know, what do we want to fix? How do we want to improve it? Remember how people were really excited in Twisted Metal 2 when we blew up the Eiffel Tower? Well, we can't just blow up another big monument only. We have to figure out sort of emotionally what that was and how do we give them the same emotion, but in a fresh way so they have the same feeling. Because if you repeat what you did, you're not giving them the same thing they loved because you're not including the freshness of like, oh, that's a surprise, right? And so that's how I come at a lot of things because of my background. And people just won't have it. And I thought they would appreciate that, right? I thought they would be like, oh, this is interesting hearing from a designer and not just someone who's a fan. No time for it. So that's the one I'm fighting right now. But I fight them all the time. And I think I'm not a trickster character. I'm not a chaos agent. I'm just you know, one of my favorite ancient philosophers is like Diogenes, right? Who is just the ultimate troll. But he would call out people on their stupid shit all the time.
Oh, is he the guy that like lived in something, right? Like a pot or something? He
lived in a pot and he lived in a tree and he didn't wear clothes. Right. And he just called out the stupidity of and the bullshit of people. And I'm not saying I'm any wiser than anybody else. I just, for whatever reason, am wired in such a way that I don't need a lot of social validation. I get it from myself and the people who I'm close to, and I don't really care if I'm popular. And in that, I enjoy slaughtering sacred cows because I think they're stupid. And people just get really fucking upset. And I get it because you're slaughtering their sacred fucking cow. And I tell them, yes, but once the cow is slaughtered, you can take the meat and you can put some lettuce on it and put that in the toaster and you are going to be eating good. So I'm the king of bad takes on the internet. So that's a more not serious, but as a meta, specifically, I don't like anal sex. I think anything with the butt is gross. I do. And everybody this generation is like, did you fuck her in the butt? No, I did not put my cock in the hole where shit comes out of. And then, and I'm going in and out and I'm seeing shit on my dick. And people are like, well, dude, people are like, well, you know, she could do an enema or it's just shit. Dude. I'm like, no. And maybe you're more animalistic when you make love and have sex and all that. And that's great. But for me, when shit comes into it, no, I'm out.
No Cleveland steamers for you, my friend. Yeah.
What's that?
No Cleveland steamers for you. No.
Right? I mean, is it just me? But right, don't you hear that? Like the new generation they talk a lot about anal sex.
No, I've totally noticed that.
Yeah, we're young people.
Yeah. Well,
what percentage like it and what percentage or argue? You know, like what is the percent? Because I'm not a YouTube celebrity and I don't have that conversation on the regular. So I'm genuinely curious where people.
Magic Mike. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, what percentage of people do you find weighing in pro and against?
Oh, most are pro.
Really?
Yeah, they're like,
why is that surprising?
Yeah, that's
because it's a whole shit in it.
But I can't articulate what I want to say. This isn't how I thought meeting David Jaffe would go, by the way. I've emailed with David Jaffe many times.
What did you think?
And
what did you think you were getting?
I didn't understand what I was getting myself into when I stepped in.
But this is what I mean about society and sacred cows, right? That's a bad take. And people come at me after it. But I don't care to bring it up. Like, it's not going to hurt me if I bring up that my bad take is I don't want to have anal sex. And I don't want you putting anything in my butthole.
Right. Yeah. I totally get that. To me, I totally agree with you. I feel like, Micah, you and I have talked about this at some point where I'm like, there has been a point where everyone just talks about ass. Like conservation was
a big thing.
Well, it was like eating ass, like just the emoji and like it was always a thing, like butt sex and anal sex, for time immemorial, right? Obviously. And when I was younger and you're watching porn, there was all these kinds of things going on, but it is very mainstreamish right now, which I totally have noticed. Yeah, I agree. There is something interesting about that. Teach their own, but I don't want anything in my ass either. Teach their own.
No, but it's I'm going to speak on the pro side of it. It's not an everyday thing. All right. It's just one of those like, oh, it's a special day. All right. Because it's not an everyday thing.
Right.
But like, I don't want everybody knocking it. All right. Like,
that's why it's a bad take, because most people don't knock it. I'm saying I'm in the minority on this. Yeah. I just, and I would totally accept if I went to therapy about it. Can you imagine? What are you here for, Jaffe? Well, if I went to therapy about it, it would probably be something, poorly wired in me. Like, it's like, dude, you're 52 years old. You shouldn't be that sensitive to the fluids of the human body when it comes to fecal paste. But I am.
Yeah. Like, here's the thing is that poop, I don't want to be around poop, but it doesn't like gross me out really. It's like, okay, there's poop. It's not like the end of all things to come, but sexually, I don't want poop involved in my stuff.
I don't know.
Yeah. So I understand that.
No, because sometimes and you gotta prepare. Well, because you just gotta be aware of it. Like, the person with the butt should be aware of like, look, we shouldn't do this today. I had Taco Bell, and that's a perfectly valid thing to say. Like, you save that for when, like, hey, I woke up this morning, emptied it all out, and then that's the day to do it. But you don't do it on the day of like, I haven't shit in 3 days. You want some?
Yeah,
you don't do that.
Yeah.
You gotta, there's a trust involved.
Shit on my dick, girl. Oh my God.
Baby, I got the diarrhea. Come on now, get on in here.
But do you know what I was going to say earlier was like, one thing that always frustrated me was, one thing that always frustrated me was, and it doesn't frustrate me, it was just curious to me, is like people that are very dramatic when there's poop, or like there's poop, or like it smells like a bathroom smells bad or something, and it's like they're like gagging, and like, I'm like, come on, like it's poop. Everyone poops.
Yeah.
We don't have to play this game. What do you do?
I never poop. Never
I don't
in
think
my
it's
life,
a shame thing. I think it's an evolutionary. It's like how some people respond to roaches or spiders, and some people don't. I think poop, we are evolutionary. We have evolved to reject it because it's toxic. It's bad for you. And so I think some people are just, that knob is turned up more than others. Hell, I'll tell you something. I was talking to my ex-wife. We were sitting out on the deck, and the kids were inside, and it was just quiet suddenly. And if you have kids, when it goes quiet, something bad's happened. And we come into the living room, and my youngest, he's sitting there like this, like doing that quiet cry. But
oh no,
his mouth is full of shit.
No,
because they were like 1.5 and 3.5. So his sister had taken her diaper and gotten one of those little kid tea set things and was feeding him the shit. What? No.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's terrible. Dagan, with your kid, did you ever have a diaper so bad it looked like they shit the Mississippi River and it went all the way up their back?
Oh,
and
dude.
It was like corn and peas. And I mean, it's
It's pretty amazing. If Colin and Micah ever experience this, though, it is kind of incredible how you just become so stoic. Yeah. Like you're like, it's diaper change time, like whatever. Like you become like a surgeon.
Yeah.
It's like you got your crew around, you got your tools, you're making jokes. Like it's like, do you ever see a surgeon show where they're just like cracking jokes and like they're doing open heart surgery? You get so used to it. You're just like, you're just so facile at it after a while.
And you also don't want the kid to suffer. That's the thing. When you know the kid's sitting in their own shit, you're like, your parenting kicks in and you're like, oh, baby. I'll jump through fire to make you comfortable.
Yeah, you learn.
And actually, that's already happened, though. Colin has told this story on the show of when he got sick in my car. And I though. I was immediately, though, just as soon as we got home, I'm just in mom mode of like, I'm going to wash your clothes. I'm going to clean out the car. Because he's like, I'll do it. He's like, you don't clean the car. I'll do it. I'm like, you're sick. You don't clean up after yourself when you're sick. Like sick people don't clean up after themselves. That's, but it was like a funny thing of like throw up is my worst thing. I get like the shakes if somebody around me like throws up because it's my worst thing. But if it's someone I care about, I'm immediately just like, I'll clean it up. I'll do whatever. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Or like for my dogs. I mean, who wants to clean up dog poop? But like Treble, my best friend, pooped on the carpet and it's like, it's all right, princess. I got it. Like it's fine. You pooped on my hand. It's okay. Like, big deal, but if it was someone else's dog, I'd probably be like a little more disgusted. There is that instinct that kicks in when it's like this thing that you care about.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, I don't mind your poop. Like, that's fine. I can handle that.
That's a good point.
Well, then maybe I've just never been in love then. Because maybe then I could eat ass. It's like, I don't mind your poop. Let's go. Yeah. Run for the border. Get some Taco Bell. It's time.
Eating ass. That's some Kevin Smith energy, right?
Yeah.
That whole
definitely
ass to mouth thing. That was like a thing throughout all his movies. And
Yeah. You never go ass to mouth.
I don't know, Jaffe. I think it might be a generational thing with you and I too, because I don't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it.
I have a couple of bad takes that came to mind that I thought would be interesting to just bring up and see what happens. So one bad take, I guess, that people would consider me having is, and by the way, before I even get into it, Jaffe, I sympathize with you, by the way, because people always tell me I have bad takes, specifically that I have bad taste.
Taste.
Yeah, I get that too.
Yeah. Which I'm like, I don't know. I that's fine if people think that. I think I'm just eclectic. I like lots of different things, and I like small games and big games and all sorts of different genres and stuff. So I just play whatever. I think people are way too beholden to just like the triple, like they're like slaves to certain games and to AAA and all of that. And I don't begrudge them that. A lot of people don't have the time to play everything or really immerse themselves, and that's not a problem for me. And so,
but it's the difference is though in other mediums, like you can like I'm not a big music snob. And I get that the music I really like is probably, not going to be, held up at Juilliard as the best, music on the radio or NPR or whatever. I like Taylor Swift. I like Jay-Z. I like very mainstream top 10 pop music. But I don't go to those people that love the indie scene, the alt scene that, we'll listen to world music and weird beats from things that aren't even in article, but because they are clearly the aficionados and they're clearly interested in the medium in a level that I'm not.
Right.
But with video games, I find it's the opposite. It's like, I'm sitting here telling you guys, and it sounds like you're saying the same thing. I play up and down the budgetary spectrum. I don't care if it's small. I don't care if it's big. I don't care if the graphics are great or bad. It's the experience I'm after, and that great experience comes in all kinds of forms. And instead of somebody looking at you or me and going, that's not what I like, but I appreciate you have a much wider palette to explore this medium, it's like, your taste is shit. And I'm like, why is it opposite in games, but film and TV and movies and literature totally different? It's the equivalent of somebody only reading James Patterson books telling you that you are an idiot because you also like to read, Camus. And it's like, oh, that's dumb. Only read the airport fiction. I don't bothers me.
Yeah. Well, you and I are totally simpatico there. I just wanted to say that you and I are in the same boat and I can sympathize. All right, let's see what you guys think of these two. And I want to say that I really believe these things, the two things I'm going to say. So it's not like so I think the voting age in the United States should be raised substantially. And I would
To what?
25 at least. And that I don't like, I believe in one person, one vote, like democracy, but I think that like it is strange that we all kind of have an equal say no matter what. And then that kind of choice is thrown away in some sort of way because most people aren't educated to make the proper decisions and these things trickle down and bad things happen or whatever. And so it's just crazy to me that we would like open ourselves up to the most ignorant of our society in that way. Because like one person, one vote is the best of all outcomes. It's like the most fair and equitable thing. So with that in mind, even though I think it's totally imperfect, like it's crazy that, for instance, like look at something like rent control. That's something that only renters would vote for, right? So like it gives power, like these interesting social and economic dynamics that circulate that don't really make any sense and that, you know, might potentially hurt the renter in the back end by making things, you know, people squat and things makes things less accessible and so on and so forth. So that's like for another day. So I think that that's a point, but at the very least, I think we can say that we can raise the age of voting to 25 in the United States. And I think that would be great. I don't think I give a flying fuck what an 18-year-old thinks about politics. No offense. And I was a very political 15 and 16 and 17 and 18 and 20 and whatever year old. And I truly didn't know shit back then, even though I thought I did. And even when I was educated, you still don't have this experiences and all those things that you need in the wisdom and the life experiences to be able to vote effectively, I think. I just think it's crazy that a 12th grader and a 65-year-old have the same power over the electorate in society, which is, again, what I was saying earlier about the Achilles heel of one person, one vote. It's like, it's kind of like how they say about capitalism is very imperfect, but it's probably the best of all flawed economic systems. I feel like this is kind of the case here. So at the very least, we need to get rid of the most ignorant amongst us in that voting pool. And I really do believe the voting age should be raised.
Isn't that, though, why we're a republic and not a democracy? Because that's supposed to kind of do that for us?
Yeah, well, well, first of all, the bicameral situation is like allows it so that people have a say, and the states at the state level were supposed to have a say. We didn't, as I'm sure you know, didn't originally elect senators. The states elected the senators and so on and so forth. So there were supposed to be these delineations. That's, again, the electoral college. So like the people vote in their state for their electors, and then their electors go and they vote for this. It's
right.
Yeah, we're not. I'm not. I think this is so pedantic, so I don't want to be one of these people when they're like, "We're not a democracy." It's like, yeah, it's true. We're not a democracy. I mean,
we are when it comes to propositions,
right?
And
in California,
measures,
for instance, right? Yeah. California is. A lot of people don't have that experience, and you and I have, and you still do, where like you vote on a shit ton of things. Like,
yeah,
not people, yeah, but you'll go and there'll be 25 propositions or something like that, and right, you'll go every year, and so that's very direct democracy. But yeah, we are a republic, a representative republic, which is probably, I would think, the best system of government. I think you can make an argument for constitutional monarchies. I think you can make an argument for democracies, direct democracies, and all those kinds of things.
But that doesn't solve your problem, is what I'm saying.
Right? No.
The age thing doesn't solve it with the republic aspect of it.
Right? Exactly. It's
okay.
I believe constitutionally, you're not allowed to have poll taxes or anything like that, right? You're not allowed to have tests or quizzes and stuff like that. That would weed people out, which is fine. And I just think that the experience of the 18-year-old is more similar to the experience of the 16-year-old than the 21-year-old. That's why I think that even raising the age to 21 would be like a nice step in the right direction. I don't really want to sit here and defend it, because the point is that it's supposed to be a bad take or a hot take. And and actually Vivek Ramaswamy, the guy who's running for the GOP nomination, does believe this. He's like one of the only people I've ever heard argue it. And it's interesting because a lot of his voters are younger, but
he also believes in a test.
Yeah, he does, which would require a constitutional amendment. In my reading of the Constitution.
Oh, well, yeah, but would anybody actually want that? Because then you get into the whole who writes the test, and, you know, is it fair? And what if you can't read? And you're like, well, if you can't read, you shouldn't vote. And it's like, okay, maybe.
Yeah, this is the complexity, though, Jaffe, is I don't like compulsory voting, so I know that. So like what they do in Australia, where you have to vote, that to me is crazy. I don't want people not able to vote from their pocket if they just want to walk in and vote. That's kind of their right as a citizen. That's why I love the idea of just like exploring, you don't even have to explore really, because one person, one vote kind of does take care of the system. As you're saying, almost throwing the Senate back to the state legislatures would be a way to kind of watch out for different levels of interest too. The Senate in some way is just redundant. It was supposed to be like a House of Lords type situation, not just a Congress with longer terms, or a House with longer terms.
Here's what I think what you're saying is only a bad take, in my opinion, as it relates to the way the actual American government works. I think philosophically, most people would agree that a lot of idiots, or not just idiots, but people who are too busy to care, and they make their decisions based on, I like that guy, I just got a feeling. I don't know who this character is. I keep channeling today, but the challenge becomes, in my opinion, if you can go to war and you can have your life impacted at 18, and if you're saying that anybody 25 or older, because of that wisdom, is going to bring they're going to have your best interest at heart, they just have more education, cool. But they're not. What's going to be happening is those senators who are in the pockets of the military-industrial complex in certain states are going to vote for war and vote for all kinds of things that will keep them in office. And those people who can't vote them out are going to be the recipients of their greed via a bullet in some other country. And I like what you're saying, but I don't know if you can solve that problem without solving the problem that a lot of votes that come from people who are over 25 are not pure. They have very selfish interest at heart, and we have to suffer for it, right?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, this is why I think you probably don't want to mess with it, because it's kind of as good as it's going to get. And if you make,
we got to mess with something, though. I agree with your essence of this.
Yeah, I think it's so strange. I sometimes wonder if we live in an era, it's almost unthinkable, but where we would have a convention of states. I think we're almost, I don't know if anyone out there knows what that is, but there's like a constitutional way where the states can basically declare amongst each other outside of the federal government that they have to meet and discuss shit. And it's not happened ever. And I think X amount of states have signed on, they need to get Y or whatever, and they're fairly close to it. And what comes of these conversations is that like we'll kind of turn into a constitutional convention. Could we like radically alter the Constitution and even write a new one? Because constitutions aren't necessarily supposed to be perpetual. They're just supposed to guarantee rights. They can be amended. There's literal ways to do it within the document itself. So
our Constitution is built to be amended. They recognize the value of it being malleable.
It's also, I'm sorry.
It's become a religious text for people. It's like, no, just because it's in the Constitution, we can get 2/3 of the states. But yeah, you're right. The way things are, like, look at Dianne Feinstein and Mitch McConnell. Everybody knows there needs to be age limits. Mm-hmm. Sorry. There might be a few people that miss out that could have been great politicians, but you know what? Most of them need to fucking get off the goddamn stage. Dianne Feinstein, hell, even Nancy Pelosi. It's like she's running again. It's like, lady.
Oh, is she really?
Yeah. And I'm like, come on.
Yeah,
it's enough.
It's vulgar.
But they'll never let a vote happen.
No, because that's right. They have to vote, like for term limits, they have to vote for them on their own term limits. You have to have a kamikaze Congress kind of of people willing to do it, which I think would be awesome and super noble. And a lot of people would go down in history by being the Congress that removed their own power in some way, or their own continued power, which I think would be really interesting. But that's never going to happen.
On that note, let me interrupt for 1 second, though. Don't you think in our country, the Democratic Party would take great exception to this, specifically because you're taking a lot of weight off the blue ticket, right? Because most of those young people, I would say the majority, right? Unless I'm wrongheaded about that, the majority of those people are going to be voting Democratic.
Yeah,
so that's large kick.
That's definitely true. It would probably, in my opinion, bring things more into balance, though.
Put your country ahead of your fucking party. I mean, ultimately, it's bad for the country. You might get whacked on the nose right now if you're a Democrat because of it, but ultimately in the wash, it's all going to be equal. And Mitch McConnell's a Republican. What the fuck's he doing up there?
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
What
It's
the
better. I
fuck is he
think
doing up there?
for different reasons. I think a lot of them are. Like John Fetterman is embarrassing. Joe Biden is embarrassing. They're all embarrassing for different reasons, But
because why is Fetterman? Because the clothes? I don't think that. I like that.
No,
like,
he looks. I think it's. I'm not much of a decorum guy. I used to say that if I got sent to the House, it would be fun to I wouldn't be allowed by the rules of the House, but to go and button downs and jeans or whatever, but at least look presentable. Right. He looks like a fucking moron. He looks like a moron.
Okay, you're right. But the problem with that argument, and you're not wrong about that, but it's comical that we can have a Senate. And just today, there was literally the leader, I think he's the leader of the Senate Committee on Foreign Intelligence. You can't ask for a more important chair than that. Democrat. Was found to be taking all kinds of bribes, cars being paid in gold by people. Oh, wow. He was already accused of this once, but the jury was hung. Mm-hmm. This is the second time, right? So to go after Fetterman because, he's wearing shorts and a T-shirt, but we don't even talk about all of the corruption that is marbled into these institutions. It's like, it seems a little backwards to me. I get the point, because it's an easier target, but I think it's really shame on us as the American public that that's what we're choosing to criticize and not these actual issues that affect people's lives. Nobody cares. If Fetterman votes to make people's lives better, I don't give a fuck what he wears.
Yeah, I agree and I disagree. I mean, I think that the Bob Menendez stuff is interesting. He's definitely going down. I was just reading about that before the show. And I'll be interested to see what happens with that. And yeah, they've been after him. The Justice Department has been after him for a while, so it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out. But as far as Fetterman is concerned, I think that his presentation is completely inappropriate. And again, I'm not a suit and tie guy. It's I just think you can wear that kind of stuff and not look like that. You look worse than I've ever looked in my life, basically. And you're on the.
We need to establish something though, which is that Colin, Jaffe, you wouldn't know this. Colin wants NFL coaches to wear suits on the sidelines. So you can only imagine how he wants politicians to dress.
I love
if he wants to see Bill Belichick in a suit.
It's delightfully naive that he thinks the Jets are suddenly going to get better because the head coach is wearing a suit. Okay. That'd have to be a hell of a magic suit.
Yeah, I love that.
I would agree with that.
I love it. But I remember Tom Landry. That's class.
Yeah, I want the last guy to do it was what was his name? Nolan, I think. He was a coach of the Niners, actually, maybe 15 years ago. And because of the rules, you guys can go look this up. This is true. Because of the rules, he had to have Reebok make his suits. He was a guy that wanted to wear suits on the sideline, but Reebok made his suits. That's because awesome. By the rules, they had to do it.
Basketball coaches tend to wear suits more often.
Right. And hockey coaches look awesome. I think baseball managers look like fucking idiots because they're wearing the same thing that all the players look like. It looks like an old man playing dress up. And then NFL coaches look like children, fat children. I don't understand. So anyway.
Bryant had the hat, though. What about the hat? If he has the hat, it kills the suit law, right? If you got the checkered hat.
Yeah, the checkered hat. Sure. Yeah. I mean, there was a thing about the old NFL films, the music and it's cold and the breath. You see the breath in the air and all that. And you see you see the guys on the sideline, the players look like players, the coaches look like coaches. An NHL coach, he wears his sweatpants and stuff when they go out to morning skate. When he's behind the bench, he puts on his finest suit.
It was just more elegant.
Yeah,
it's more elegant.
Totally. But
and then people started seeing through the bullshit, and it's people are getting killed and concussions, and they're bigger fish to fry than wearing a goddamn suit.
Let me just say this about John Fetterman. This might be a bad take for some people too, but this is why I care about it more. As the dressing thing is okay, that's fine. Is that he has massive disabilities in terms of understanding spoken and even written language, and should not be in the U.S. Senate. Period.
Okay, you're not wrong.
Story.
You're not wrong, but if you're going to kick him out, you got to kick out McConnell.
Sure.
You got to kick out Feinstein.
Sure, take them all. You can take half those motherfuckers away, but
if that's a law that you have to have a level of ability to express a level of intelligence, I'm with you. But you're right. You'd lose half of them.
I thought it said a lot. I mean, it said a lot about Dr. Oz, But I thought it said a lot about Pennsylvania as well, that they still elected that dude even after that debate where he was incoherent and had no idea what was being said and done. And it doesn't mean that he's stupid or anything like that. And I'm sure it is incredibly frustrating, but this is supposed to be a deliberative body. That you can't go into that with that kind of disability. I'm sorry, it's insane. It would be like going into the military and you can't walk. It's like, sorry, this just isn't for you. You know,
unless you're a planner, but not being on the front line.
But like you couldn't pass basic. You know,
that's Philly, though.
But yeah, you can go work in the Pentagon or whatever, I guess. Yeah, sure.
Right. But I mean, the thing is, though, debates, isn't it crazy how debates don't even matter anymore? Like I was, when we were kids, we were taught about, the Kennedy-Nixon debate.
Yeah, 1960.
That's what killed him for it because he sweated on TV. And now Trump's not even going to show up at any of the debates. Biden shouldn't show up at any of the debates. I mean, it helps if you're an unknown. Like I think it helped Nikki Haley, but most people don't even, like you're saying, Fetterman won because Fetterman was a Democrat and Dr. Oz posed with a fucking tractor and was a terrible politician. Those are that's what I think.
Yeah,
but
totally. I mean, he was,
but nobody cares about, you don't watch debates anymore and go, I think I'm going to come here and make up my mind. 95% of the people, it's theater. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah, like
but
you're right, because you would think 20 years ago, if they kicked you in the debate and the first line out of your mouth was "Good night, everyone," which is exactly what Fetterman said at the beginning of the debate, I would have been like,
"Yeah."
Well,
or the first line out of your mouth was "Except for Rosie O'Donnell." Which was the first thing Trump said on the primaries, and it's like,
but Trump is
he got
funny.
A round of applause.
Trump is funny though. He knows he's funny.
Okay.
No, but I'm saying that's performance, and that you could say that's also bad for the country, and that's bad for politics and all the rest. But I do think that's a whole nother topic. But Donald Trump's self-awareness of that he is funny is his probably greatest weapon, and he utilizes it with reckless abandon. So I totally agree with you on that. The other thing I want to say before we move on, because we're going going late here, and I don't want to step on anyone else's topics, is I'll be curious what you guys think of this too. This is a hot take, is that I think we got to gatekeep and keep in line things way more, be a little more judgmental, a little less empathetic. So here's what I mean. We were just talking about this on Sacred Symbols with Dustin when he was in Japan, and he was saying how like he had never been there before. And so we were remarking, I was asking him questions about my own experiences there and how, he did so much more there than I ever did because I was just there for work. And so I was, really picking his brain, and he was noting a lot of the things I noted, like polite society, no one bothers you, keep to yourself,
safe.
No, you're safe, right? No pollution, whatever the case might be, right? Like litter and all of the rest. It kind of regulates and self-regulates itself, but really underneath all of that is a society that really doesn't suffer anyone's bullshit. And it's kind of the price that you pay. And I know that. Like, I know that that's the society that's underneath Japanese culture and has been there for a very, very long time, and I feel like we can learn a lot from that. That it doesn't mean that you can't go live your life or do what you want to do or whatever, but have like a level of respect. We've almost, if acceptability is a circle, we've just extended it too much. It's in a gray area now where it's like, oh, someone throws a piece of garbage on the ground. Like if someone saw you do that, like you should be ridiculed for that. Like we aren't, we tolerate too much nonsense that piles up on each other or whatever. And a lot of it comes from just a laissez-faire, live and let live American philosophy that I think is kind of,
and you never know who's got a gun.
Right. That's true too.
Yeah. Fear.
Yeah. There's that fear too.
Japan, and you tell somebody to pick up trash here, they might shoot you in the fucking head.
This is what
in Japan.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jaffe. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was going to say it's not going to happen in Japan.
Let me kick it to you with this, though. And this is what I had remarked to Dustin, is that like and this is where this kind of feeling comes from, that we need to fight more to keep the norms of society in place in a lot of different ways, I guess is what I'm saying. And what I was noting to him was, when you see the dickhead or the asshole or the whatever do something, it's never me doing it. Like, I'm not the one who's throwing a piece of garbage on the ground. I'm not the one leaving dog shit on the sidewalk. I'm not the one blowing my lawn clippings into the road. I'm not. So all I expect is that in return, but my passivity and just ability to kind of do what I think is right isn't matched by other people. And maybe that's because I'm not more assertive in saying like, no, these are the expectations of society. Like we need to do more than just live in our own little bubbles and hope for the best. And I think that that's kind of caused a societal erosion a lot of different ways. So when you go to a place like Japan and you see a more orderly, a safer, a politer, a more respectful society, you wonder how that didn't happen in other places. And I think a lot of it comes from us just not gatekeeping enough, not calling spades enough, not holding people to account enough. And I think a lot of that comes from, again, an American libertarian passivity of just being like, yeah, you do you, brother. And I'm like, yeah, that's totally cool to a degree until it starts to affect and degrade your society, whether it's gun violence, whether it's litter on the streets. You go onto the train in New York City. I mean, I watch these I love public freak out and public fight videos. Everyone knows that. Half of them take place in the New York City subway.
Yeah.
You go and then Dustin's telling stories on Sacred about he goes to the subway, uses his Suica card and all of that. And we're talking about his experiences there for the first time. And he's like, dude, no one says a fucking word on that train. And you don't eat on the train. You don't listen to loud music on the train. You don't talk on the train. You don't.
Did you ever see the Conan clip when he was in Japan?
Yeah.
And he's on the subway and he's all being Conan. And this little Japanese man comes up to him and just goes, "We like quiet." That's all he said. It's like, what? It's so great.
So this is what I don't know if what I'm coming, and I think that this goes in a lot of different spaces. Like the gaming space needs to be cleaned up and gatekept in a much greater sense, in my opinion. Like the bad actors and the fanboys and just the fucking just awful people that are dominating the conversation in a lot of different spaces now come from, again, a passivity and this thing being like, oh, well, we're greater if there's more of us and the more the merrier and all that. I'm like, I don't think so. Like I know, and then I see something like, and just one more example, I'm watching and the NFL, we're going into week 3 and already the fights that are happening in the stands at these places are out of control, including someone dying already at one of these games. And I'm like, that's another form of gatekeeping. Like we are too polite. Like your drunk fucking degenerate ass doesn't belong at a football game. Someone needs to like throw you out of here. Maybe we shouldn't even be serving beer and alcohol at these things at all, but we tolerate too much and then shit like that happens. And so I don't know, Dagan, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's kind of what I'm feeling about. We got to gatekeep and hold the line a little bit more in some sense.
No, not at all. Yeah. I mean, I think you make a lot of great points that speak to me because I just think about it in these regards, like certain subcultures or activities that I'm still involved with. Let's say skateboarding, which I still pay attention to what's going on in the industry. And it's sort of in that whole subculture. And we came from a time in the 90s of great gatekeeping, like no one was allowed in. It was, even if you were a hardcore skateboarder for many years, like it was there was a snobbishness to it where it kind of came into this whole spirit and energy more lately where it's like it was a time of great acceptance, if you will. And I think now, because of that anything goes to such a large degree mentality, I think now it goes back to finding that balance of maybe we need a little bit of gatekeeping. This is becoming corny. There has to be some sort of rule. I like your example of just saying somebody who throws a piece of trash on the ground. The sentiment could be, well, that poor guy, maybe he can't afford a trash can. It's like that type of thing. It's like, all right, but I understand the empathy, but where do you find the balance?
Yeah.
Right. And that's exactly what you're saying.
I'm sorry, Micah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you see that exact thing. Colin and I used to watch the Cart Narcs videos, which is this guy who yells at people who don't put their carts
Love
away.
That shit.
If you check the comments on YouTube, they're all people who are like, yeah, tell those lazy people to put the cart away. When those videos get shared in other spaces, it's all like, I saw one of those videos get shared on Facebook. People were irate. They're like, that woman could have been disabled and you called her lazy. And it's like, but she's parked at the end of the parking lot. Like it's literally a car parked all the way at the back. I don't expect a disabled person would do that. Not in a handicap spot,
right?
Exactly. It's like, we're not talking about he's yelling at someone who is in a handicap space. We're talking about he's yelling at someone who parked at the fringe of the lot and didn't want to walk the cart back. But the default response is they might be disabled. You can't say that to them. And it's like, I think I can guess that the guy in the Mercedes who took up 2 spaces way at the back did that on purpose, didn't want to walk the cart back, and he is lazy. I think I can make that judgment. But when you see those videos shared outside of YouTube, they're always like people irate, calling him like the worst names because they're he's ableist and all these things. And it's like, I think you're the one who doesn't put the cart back and you don't like that he's yelling at people like you. I think that's what it actually is, because it is. There's a level of empathy. I wouldn't say anything to anyone because, as Jaffe mentioned, they might have a gun. But it's like, I wouldn't say anything to someone in a disabled parking space who, got into their car and drove off, whatever. But somebody way at the back leaves their cart, that's lazy. You can't tell me it isn't, but that's what you get online now is like this like toxic empathy of like, you don't know what they're going through. And it's like, I think I can guess.
It can't stay
I think
that
sometimes
way,
you can
That's
guess.
what we talk about on the show so much, is that things just have to, for some reason, especially in America, things have to get too far before they get dialed back. It's a shame it has to get to that degree, but it's like the only way the mass populace could see how ridiculous it is for us to actually get there and then walk it back.
I disagree with pretty much all of you guys on this. Not that I disagree with the problem, but I don't think the solution is gatekeeping. A good example for me, well, first let me take Japan. Japan and Sweden, or the Nordic countries, a lot of people always talk about how wonderful and safe and this and that and the other. And I'm not an expert or anywhere close to being a layperson expert, but I know that there's not a lot of racism in Japan because it's pretty homogenous. Same thing with a lot of the Nordic countries. I know women for the longest time in Japan weren't having a great time, and maybe the subways are quiet, but they were filled with gropers where women would get groped all the time on the subways and just have to live with it, right? Suicide rate, really high amongst, at least for a while, the salaryman thing, the amount of work and shame and all of these things that build that culture. I think if you don't take that into account, then I think, and you just kind of go, let's be like Japan, but we're not willing to sort of look at the reasons they're that way and or the possible negative things that come. Same with the Nordic countries. I think that's important. But the other thing that I think is also important as it relates to America is, and this was a conversation I had with my kids, because I'm I clean up after my dog, I pick up my trash, I put my cart back. Even if my dog shits like in a bush and no one's ever going to step in, and I'm like, God, give me the fucking shit. I'll do it. And we've established how gross poop is to me. So it's bad, but I'll do it. So I'm talking to my kids a couple of years ago. They're both still in school, and cheating comes up. And I was just like, there wasn't a story of them cheating, but they were talking about a friend or something. And I was just like, oh my God, cheating's the worst and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, what's the big deal? And I'm like, what do you mean? Have you been raised by me? What the fuck do you mean? What's the big deal? It would never occur to me to think that's okay. And they said something that I think is related to this conversation, which is just like, look, all of these companies, all of the government, all of the powers that be cheat all the time. That's the only way in this country we see people really getting ahead. And I didn't agree that they were right 100%. But the idea that when you have the level of freedom that we have in America, you can gatekeep this stuff, but you do it at the danger of ignoring the reason it's happening in the fucking first place. And so you can shove it into a hole, and it's like the 1950s, and everybody is like on the surface okay. But ultimately, the women in Japan are starting, or have been starting for the last 10, 20 years, to push back and be like, I'm not going to be this docile housewife, submissive housewife. I want to go have a career. I want to have a life. In America, it's like all of us didn't come up with school shootings and terror attacks on the country, and the racial shit that we have in this country right now. So the view of these kids today and what their expectation is from society, I think, is so different that it doesn't mean it gives them a get out of jail free card to just be an asshole. But I think if we think that the old man on the lawn yelling at them is the solve, and it doesn't pay respects to the reason they are acting this way, I think it's just kind of trying to put a Band-Aid on cancer. That's a bigger issue, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's very self-aware of your kids to have an answer that sophisticated. I was like, I couldn't argue with it. I said, well, I don't like cheating. I think it's bad. I don't care, but I'm not going to argue with your point because you're right. I'd prefer you not cheat. And they never did, as far as I know, but
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's I've admitted before. I mean, I'm also, I graduated high school 21 years ago or something like that. But in high school, I used to write papers for people sometimes for money and help them cheat, basically. But I didn't consider me cheat. I never like cheated, per se. But I guess I facilitated other people cheating. And yeah, people do what they have to do. I guess it is a very sophisticated look at life, I think, for that someone or people that young, just from the realizing in the moment how useless all of this stuff actually is. It's just supposed to be a well-rounded Western education of whatever, this gauntlet of shit that you have to know, or at least know in that time, just to prove that you know something. But then you see really concerning stuff out there too, where, kids are their reading levels are awful. Their math levels are awful. It's like, man, I don't know what the fuck's going on out there. It's
well,
scary.
you have the internet where they're become very aware that, public schools were designed to create factory workers and cubicle rats. And they're like, I don't want to be that. And so I'm not saying that means fuck school at all. But if the educational system doesn't adapt, it's almost like religion in a lot of ways. It's like, as science comes in, as data comes in, as we become more educated on things, if the structures don't evolve, like if the concept of school, it's a different topic, but it's a ridiculous concept that you're going to have a kid who gets his self-esteem wrecked because he may not be good in 8th grade or ever at math, but he's awesome at literature, awesome at articulation or whatever. The school system doesn't exist to say, okay, let's branch you off on these classes. Let's focus on that. It's such an archaic system that if I was a kid in school today, I'd be like, I don't give a fuck half of what you're teaching me. Because there never really is a great answer to most of the questions that start with, when am I going to use this in the real world?
Right.
Sometimes there's a great answer, but there's a lot of times there's not. So
yeah, it's like, it's good to expose kids to as many things and possibilities as possible, I guess. But it's almost like, well, this is a whole nother topic, but just education generally in the United States needs an overhaul.
Yes.
And even in how long I think we necessarily keep kids in school, or the tracks that they're on from an earlier age, like putting them on tracks that we think would make more sense for them. And I don't know. All right, Dag, are you satisfied with that? We went a long time on that topic, although we took a long time to get into it as well.
Yes. Well done, team.
Do I make these episodes longer than they should be? I apologize. I just, I talk a lot.
No, we
generally pretty long show. It's not just you, Jay.
Yeah, we lean
okay,
long.
Okay.
Sacred Symbols was almost 5 hours long, so don't worry about it.
Good. Okay.
As long as no one has anywhere to be. I mean, I don't give a shit. I can be on here all day. Actually, Micah and I are going out to dinner with Dad tonight.
He came. Yeah, okay, good. I wasn't sure if he was going to come because...
Oh, I don't know. Maybe he's not going to come. I don't know. I haven't. Because the hurricane or whatever, the tropical storm.
Yeah, the tropical storm.
Is he going to wear the Daisy Dukes?
We could only hope.
Just so you know, at 3:18, you texted me, Dig. And
so he okay. Good.
No, Dig, I'm telling you, you texted me at 3:18 and tell me to keep the dog down, quiet. So, you accidentally.
Oh, I texted you again. I've done that to you before.
Yeah, Graydon. I
was talking to Graydon. I was trying to. Okay,
cool. Well, anyway, yeah, I don't know. And then tomorrow, so we're bringing this up because there's like a tropical storm of some sort coming over. I actually have to I have to empty the pool because we're going to get a ton of rain. Or like not empty it, but make it go down a lot. And so I have to worry about that. But yeah, tomorrow we're supposed to do some sort of, not like a bachelor party, because that's not what just a dinner with like some of the men. You're not obviously coming to that because with all that's going on.
No, I have to work.
I think that I think Dad kind of felt bad in some way, or Derek, that nothing was really going on for me in terms of like bachelor party or like pre-wedding acknowledgement. But I'm just like, I don't know. I don't really, I want to just put people out for the wedding. I don't mind that at all. I wasn't expecting anything at all.
Yeah. We talked about all that. Yeah.
So I don't know, but, and the girls are bringing Mike out tomorrow night as well. So we'll see though. Maybe this will all be canceled. I have no idea. All right. So we'll get into the next topic now. Jaffe, I kick it over to you, my friend.
Okay. So how do I express this? So my topic, I guess, is what did I call it when I wrote you the email? It was like a heading. It was like hate. Yeah,
let me open it up here.
Because it encapsulated
hate has me shook.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I go on the Side Scrollers podcast. It got very political. Blah blah blah. I enjoyed it, and then obviously it released a firestorm of comments, given that channel tends to, it seems, be more right-leaning. Most of the comments were, Jaffe's an idiot, which is great. I expected that, although it was nice to always see, out of that 95%, 5% going, this guy, okay, that's interesting, right? That's all I really want. But one of the comments, all it was this guy, and I hate to give him oxygen, but I'm going to. I don't give a fuck. This guy who had an avatar of like an SS Nazi trooper. And it was, his only comment was, Jaffe is Jewish, right? And so I wrote back to him and I said, but A, I'm not Jewish. And B, even if I was Jewish, so what? And he wrote back and he says, yes, you're Jewish. Look at your Wikipedia entry. And I said, I didn't write the Wikipedia entry, but so I'm telling you I'm not Jewish, but regardless, what does it matter? And he wrote back and said, well, but you are Jewish. And I said, okay, well, what is a Jew then? What do you mean by that? And he says, oh, typical Jewish response, like answer a question with a question kind of thing. And then I wrote back and I said, okay, let's be clear. Here's what I am. I was raised Jewish. My dad is full Jewish. My mom's Southern Baptist. She converted, but she converted just to get married, not because she wanted to dance the hora. But that is not, she wasn't that serious about it, in my opinion. And so after I was 7, though, animators, cartoon animators fucked me up and made me an agnostic at 7 because I had to go to Temple. And there was this great new show on called Goldie Goal and Jackie Jack Action Hour. And I was like, that's the greatest thing ever. And I had to miss it. And I'm like, that's bullshit. But I've not since I was 7. Okay. So I wrote back and I hadn't heard back from him. But then I was like, this is weird. Who is this person? Right. So I click on his thing, his name, and I go to his Twitter feed because I'm like, who thinks like this? And it was just, it was just so, I don't know what the word is, heartbreaking, but also disturbing. It was so myopic. Every post was about Hitler is great. The SS is great. The Jews are horrible. And this is not the first person I've encountered where this really seems to take over their thoughts. And sometimes it's the Jews, sometimes it's the blacks, sometimes it's the Muslims, the trans, gays, whatever. And it, I remember once for the show, I wanted to play this really racist game that you can't buy it on Steam or anything, but I'm like, I'm curious about that. What is this about? And I went to the developer's site after I played the game and it was just all of this, racist deep South rhetoric. And it was like, I'm fascinated and sad, and I'm not worried about it like on a day-to-day level, but I'm just like, it does seem that this hate and this distracting from their own lives, which maybe I'm sure that's really what the issue is, they are 100% bought in. They think the Jews run the world. They think, it's like, dude, trust me, I was raised Jewish. We didn't run shit. But the Jews run the world, and the black men want to fuck our white women, and I mean, just all of this. The Muslims are all terrorists, and they really clearly believe this. And I just kind of go, how does somebody get to that level, and how do you bring them out of that? And do you just have to at some point give up on a slice of humanity and say they're not coming along for the ride? And the fact that this isn't as gone as I thought, that there are still people shooting up black churches, there are still people regularly these days on an increasing rate putting swastikas on temples. How is this? The Nazis feel comfortable going out in front of Disney World. Now, as a First Amendment warrior, I support their right to be out there. But how in the fuck are Nazis even having a seat at the table versus being underground under the rocks where they belong? I don't understand what's happening. And that's where I'm at. It just really, to go to this guy's Twitter account was to look at just Nazi propaganda. And it wasn't like every now and then he posted it. Every fucking post 3 to 5 times a day was something about this shit. And I don't get it. So I don't have any answers. I don't have anything more to say. I don't like it. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I want to understand it. And I feel bad for these people, but I also feel bad for those of us who have to live with these people.
Yeah, it's kind of like, especially in the United States, this it's kind of what you get from freedom of expression and freedom of association and all that. You're going to get like these fringe elements. I think I take some amount of pride, at least from ostensibly, that these people are not welcome in decent and normal polite society. They're obviously in the digital shadows, and they're usually anonymous. And when there's these Nazi rallies that you see popping up, they're in masks and all of that, very KKK style. They don't want anyone to know who you are, so you can go back to your normal day job and stuff. And so I just think it's their right to associate and identify however they want, but like this almost marries very well with what I was saying in my last topic, Jaffe, was like, we need to protect the fringes more, like, and push the circle out more and get rid of more of these kinds of ideologies in these people. But also I
still struggle with that, because like it's not a tangent, I promise. I was watching with my daughter this documentary on Pepe the Frog last night. Great documentary called Feels Good Man. I don't know if you've seen it. And talking about how, the guy who did it was just this very granola San Francisco artist. He's certainly not in that movement, white supremacy or anything. And it was about how 4chan kind of adopted Pepe and made him into this symbol. And, what you have to take away from it is to hear some of these sort of 4chan, Elliot Rodger, self-identifying incel people. On one hand, it's easy to go, just like with the Nazis, run off into the rock, under the rock where you belong. But when you're hearing these people on 4chan talk about why they felt so isolated and why 4chan was the only place that they could really find kindred spirits, and why Pepe became the symbol it did, because they didn't want all these normies, they called them, to co-opt it. And it was like, that was their one thing they had. And suddenly normies were taking that away too. I think if you don't pay attention and respect that very human emotion of societal rejection and outcastness, I think, and you just put up the guardrails and you just put up the gatekeeping, we get what we have now, which is every now and then someone or something comes along that makes them think it's okay to come out of the shadows, but they were always in the shadows. And the ideal solution is to not have them in the shadows, and to sort of not make people feel the way they do, that this would become an appealing ideology for them, is what I would say.
Yeah, it's well, I have a theory on this about social inequities and all of the things you're touching on, like drawing them out for the reasons that they're there. I want to get into that, but I want to get the others involved first. Michael, where are you on this? What are you feeling about the hate?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is purely because we are so online, and the anonymity protecting people that they can just fire off and say whatever they want. These are things they would never actually say to you in person. These are things they would never say at risk of losing their job, and all of that. But it's like, I think it's the detriment of the anonymity online, of like, people just say the craziest things, and I told Colin this the other day, because especially in regards to like racism, for example, even like anti-racist pages can go so far as, I saw someone saying that it was racist to drink pumpkin spice lattes, that those are a white people thing, and any person of color shouldn't be drinking pumpkin spice lattes. And there were people that were in agreement with them. And I was just like, you're not going to tell me that I, as a black person, shouldn't drink pumpkin spice lattes. And then on the other side of it, then I saw there was this like Native American page that was saying pumpkins are indigenous. We really should be the ones drinking them. And I'm just like, what is happening that a pumpkin spice latte has become a race issue? And it's just the internet, because your average person does not think like this. Your average person doesn't go to Starbucks and say, what can I have? I'm white. What should I have? I don't go into Starbucks and say, I'm black. Which drink can I have? Like, it's food. It's not racial at all. It's the weirdest thing to think that there's any race component to my trip.
But you're
to
coming at
Starbucks.
it with a healthier mind. That's what I'm saying. If you
right.
just look at it logically, yeah, you're right. But isn't that a problem that if you're given anonymity, this is what you decide to do?
Exactly. And that's my thing, is just to say that I think the reality is that this is a very small group of people. You'll come across them online. It'll seem like a bigger problem than it is. To see 50 comments on Facebook of people saying, yeah, black people shouldn't drink pumpkin spice lattes, it's white people drink and we shouldn't participate in that. But then you realize it's 50 people out of how many people on Facebook.
Right. That's a good point.
It always seems like a lot, though, when you see a whole page of comments, but then you're like, this page has 1,000 followers. Out of the millions of people that use Facebook, there's only 1,000 of them that think this is semi-normal. So I have to just remind myself of that, because, sometimes I see a lot of content, for example, that like against interracial dating. That's still a thing.
Isn't that crazy?
When my parents got married in '89, it was like one of their best friends had said, I support you guys getting married, but you shouldn't have kids. And that was one of their best friends. That was the attitude in 1989 in Massachusetts.
Your parents, what was one? What was the other?
Oh, yeah. My dad's white and my mom's black.
Okay, so you can have half a spice latte.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Just let the barista know. Yeah. Keep going. Sorry.
So that was, we're talking, this really isn't that long ago. It's not that long ago that they were being told by their good friends it would be unfair to have children, to put them through that. And it's like, this is the 1989. It's not 1950. Like, it's the 80s, man. And we're talking about, we shouldn't have mixed race children. So I have to remind myself sometimes of how recent some of these events still are. When I see people still saying things like that, it's upsetting. But it just is also the other side of it being, I have to remind myself that change is gradual. And, a lot has happened. You see interracial couples on TV now. That didn't really exist when I was a kid. I remember the first time I ever saw that, and it really moved me, and I didn't understand why at the time.
What was it? I'm curious.
Oh, it was a Cheerios commercial, actually.
Okay.
And it just had an interracial couple. And I remember just being like, I've never seen a family like mine on TV. And it was just very interesting to realize, wow, like, you only ever see couples of the same race on sitcoms, basically. Even like my favorite shows, like King of Queens, it's like, yeah, the black couple, the white couple, like everybody's together, everybody's matched up.
And that's why when people, I pisses me off when people go, oh yeah, diversity doesn't matter. Seeing people in media doesn't matter. It's like, yes, it does. It doesn't matter to you because you see yourself all the time.
Right, because it's just about establishing normalcy. Because on the other side of it, and I'll fully admit this too, I also see it in like more black spaces. Colorism is rampant for black people, of, more light-skinned women being told that they're more beautiful type thing.
I didn't even know what that was until I saw that movie You People with Eddie Murphy. And that was his whole
Jonah Hill.
And I was like, what is colorism? I didn't even know what but yeah, it's no shit, it's a thing, Jaffe. I'm telling you. I know, but I was amazed. I didn't never heard of it before.
Well, right. And that's a whole other space that also makes me deeply uncomfortable. But then there's another facet to it of I get told that I'm not black. It was when I went on Colin's podcast a couple of years ago, like the first time we did a show together. And I had people in the comments saying he should have gotten, somebody else to do this. She's not black enough to talk about this topic. She's biracial. She's not black.
Did you tell them you don't like cantaloupes?
Exactly. It was just like, you can't win. On the one side, I have, in terms of like the black community, on the one side, people, say like, oh, she has nice skin, right? On the other side, you have people who say like, she's not black, look how light she is. And it just is, though, I have to just dial myself back and say, these are such minorities of people. it seems like a lot when you come across a whole group of them. It seems like a lot when you come across a Facebook page that's dedicated to light-skinned women, and it's uncomfortable, and you're like, that makes me feel weird. And then you come across a different page saying how Black people shouldn't date white people, that you're a race betrayer, because I see that a lot too. You know, there's so many people who feel that way. I just have to remind myself that it's not as big an issue as it seems. They really are such a minority.
I think you're right, and it's a great point as it relates to a specific issue. But I do think maybe what it is not a minority is it seems that while you may only have 50 of those comments on that particular topic, we as a society, and I don't know if it's humanity in general or America specifically, we seem to be angry and judgy and cruel when we're given the opportunity to do it anonymously. At least a lot of people do. And maybe for some people, it's the against interracial dating. For others, it's the Jews. For others, it's Xbox. You know what? But it's like, what does it say? And I don't mean that like I'm judging, but I mean like, what is it? What can we take from the fact that there's so much when you're given the ability to not be called out for it because you're anonymous? There's so much fucking anger. What is that? Can't be healthy.
No, and I always speak to as well though. Like this is something Colin and I talk about, the idea of like the Amazon review. And how many people leave only negative reviews? Like, I'm the type of person who, if I really like something, I'll leave a positive review. I know tons of people though, who only ever leave a review if they have something negative to say. So it's like, how many people though only speak out online in anger, to say something hateful? And how many regular people just don't want to engage with it? Like, I'm not going to get in a fight with this weirdo. He's clearly unhinged. I'm not going to change his mind. I'm just leave it alone. To the detriment, though, of like, yeah, the whole comment section might be full of stuff like that because all the normal people didn't post their positive comment. But that's just, it's definitely a problem on the internet of like the anger is more popular to post, like the bitterness is more popular to post. Like that's what gets people fired up, not saying like, that was a great video. Nobody likes those comments. The comment that says like, this guy's an idiot, that's the one that gets all the likes or gets a ton of replies, whether it's an argument or not. Just that's what gets people going online almost.
Yeah, like, I'm struggling with it because I spend a lot of time.
Don't go anywhere.
I spend a lot of time online, obviously, as I know all you guys do as well. And it's certainly not helping my mental health. I love online. I love so much about the internet, but it's really, it's not good. It's not good. I don't like it.
Yeah, I need to figure out a way to almost continue and begin to, and then continue to restructure my own life to get away from more of these things. Although I've been doing a really good job of that already. Just getting myself away from the idea of participating in that world was a really big step for me that I was really proud of. And now that it's a couple years old or whatever, I look back and I'm like, okay, I feel good about that, but now I need to stop just reading it at all. And to me, I look at it as more of a utility than anything else, as that's kind of just how I know what's going on in the world. I don't do anything but just go to Twitter and then go and just look at it's so funny how we all use it differently, because Micah and I reflect on this a lot because she doesn't use it like this at all, but I'm always in like the trending tab and searching for things and stuff like that. I always do that.
That's all the bad stuff. I only look at the people I follow. That's all I see. I look at who I'm following. I'll occasionally search something specific, like I want to see what Mike Florio is saying today. But like Colin will be like, I came across this crazy thing, and I'm like, stop looking at that tab. Like, look at your friends and the people you choose to follow. And if you stay over there, it's quite pleasant. Like if you stay over there, Twitter quite manually
puts you into For You now. So you have to remember to click following. And it's obviously done on purpose, right? So if you open up Twitter right now, it's not going to show you who you follow. It's going to show you what the algorithm wants you to see.
To me, it's all about farming this rage. And I agree. It's very strange. It does seem like an angry moment, but I guess this seems like a good time to bring up what I was going to say earlier to you, Jaffe, which was, I think that a lot of this tension is just born out of general social and economic anxiety in a large way. I really try to remind myself how lucky and fortunate I am to live the life that I live, and how divorced it is from the reality of many, if not most, of the United States, not to mention the rest of the world. and that's just a fortunate luck-based draw system. I didn't ask to be born in the United States to parents that cared about me and like a decent head on my shoulders and all that kind of stuff. Could have been any outcome. And so I understand that completely. But I think that it can't help but come off as the powers that be farming racial animosity, farming gender animosity, farming animosity over the pro-life movement or the pro-choice movement or whatever, just to distract you from the fact that you're fucking broke, that the rich have way more money than they've ever had before, that the United States debt is out of control, that our military spending is out of control, that we just are hemorrhaging. We're a fucking criminal enterprise in all these different ways. They'll do anything to distract you from that. And I really think that a lot of the racial tension is fomented through that prism. That
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. It's like the whole, the thing that always, when they were marching in, the KKK guys were marching and that woman got killed. I forget what state they were in. And they were like, with the tiki torches, and they were like, Jews will not replace us.
Oh, Virginia. That was here.
Virginia. And it's like, who's trying to, what? It's like you think when Jews go to temple on Saturday, they're like, now look, fellas, we got 3 jobs at the factory. I want you 3 Jews to go down there and get those jobs. No one's trying to replace anybody. People, like you said, are just trying to fucking feed their families, but it gets directed that way. Here's my question to you then, because I agree with you. But where does it end? How does it end up playing out? Is it revolution? Is it is January 6th just not so much what they wanted on January 6th, but that sense of we feel so unheard that this can't sustain? Is it eat the rich? I mean, or is there a way to, deflate some of this? Or what do you think is going to happen?
I don't know. It seems,
because you're right.
It seems people always think that they live in the end times and that like something traumatic is going to happen in their lives, and then entire generations go by where nothing interesting happens. And so I don't want to like live through that myopic lens where I'm like, something's going to happen crazy in our lifetimes, but it does
have to be crazy. But don't you think if what you're describing is true, and I think it is, it has to, even if it's 100 years from now, it has to play out. I mean, it's not sustainable, is it?
No, I don't think it's sustainable even within the decades, like in my opinion. It just seems, I think what keeps everyone at bay from the constant balkanization that you would see in Eastern Europe or whatever that would kind of descend in the United States, I guess, is a general level of, positive trade imbalance, global currency use, just kind of a good quality of life and security comparable, so that even people that are considered poor in the United States would be considered rich in many other nations. And that's not a value judgment. That's just true,
right?
And so I look at that and I'm like, as long as that's sustained and people don't have to worry too much, then nothing breaks. But when people have something really serious to worry about, like surviving, and that's why I think inflation and all of this could lead, it's going to be some sort of black swan weird event where you have no idea what's going to happen and it's going to set everything off. But I think a lot of it has to do with, and I think you're right, and I think people are talking about this more openly, which is interesting. And I think it might be the first step or one of the first steps of rectifying this one way or the other, which is people is like, should there just be a national divorce? Do you walk away from this? Like you're saying, new constitution, or I don't know. It just seems it's very unwieldy. I don't think the country was ever designed to be so big geographically or population wise. The United States during its first Constitution, the Articles of Confederation, had like 1/35 the amount of people or something that we have now. It's a totally different place. So I don't know. I think so that it's like 9/11, how that like Islamophobia went out of control, and that was kind of manipulated, I think, in a lot of different ways. And so people are like, yeah, go fuck up Afghanistan, go fuck up Iraq. They knew exactly what they were doing. I think the xenophobia now we see when, like what's happening on the border right now, for instance, is insanity. Like that the United States is allowing what's happening there to happen is fucking crazy. And it's going to be taken out on the people coming across the border. But they know that. And what they want is the xenophobia to be out of control so that they don't have to cut. So no one focuses on like, oh, that you're not doing anything about it. Like, so we're just going to fight amongst ourselves. And they always rely upon that. I don't know. I just, Dave, what do you think about this? Take this topic however you want of Jaffe's topic of the hate he was experiencing and how it's maybe appearing here on the internet more and more.
It's horrifying. I mean, I have a few things to say about this. I wasn't going to start this way, but I want to react to what Micah was saying, because I think she makes some really good points. And I like sort of what's underneath what she was saying. What Micah was saying was that it's a very glass half full philosophy of, it's a small cross section, let them expose themselves. And of course, like that whole sentiment of people hiding behind the security of, their computer and their, typing away at their PC and their anonymity. But here's the flip side to that coin is I worry about the people that at least have the wherewithal not to say anything, at least publicly. I'm sure a lot of these people are saying shit and feeling a certain way behind closed doors. There's plenty of old school racists out there that are racist off the internet. That's the flip side to everything Micah was saying. And that, I'm not saying that, I don't know to what degree that exists, but that's my fear. I mean, here's the thing, and this comes up a lot. I feel like this comes up pretty often on the various podcasts that we do, but it's kind of it's 2 bullet points here. But the first thing, when you just think of racism or any sort of bias in general, right? And Colin touched on this a little bit, but I always did really look at it like, all of our existence, right? It's a cosmic roll of the dice. Really, like, honestly, that's all it is. Mm-hmm. All right. So, yeah. So I was just saying, just prior to all of us coming down, right, starting our lives, none of us were saying, I want to be born there, to that person. I want to be this religion. I want to have this hair color. I want to have this skin color. It was luck of the draw, everybody, right? If luck you could even call it. And you know what the most unfortunate part is about this conversation is that the people that really need to hear this stuff aren't listening to the show because we have the coolest community. So it's kind of falling on deaf ears, or at least it's going to be people nodding in agreement. But that's the shame of it, is that these people exist. And if you boil it down to this very simple, kid-friendly perspective, that, believe me, this is not 49-year-old Dagan knowing this anew. This is 10-year-old. I knew this as a 10-year-old. Like, this is just logical. This is the way. So why would you hate somebody based on these things? These sort of random traits. It doesn't make any sense. And then if you take it to a whole nother degree, if you just have hatred based on, I disagree with you, right? We're different. It could be something in that we see in nerd culture all the time. You love Star Trek. I hate it. Or it could be something bigger, right? You're a big Trump mark. I can't stand Trump. We feel different about abortion or any of, choose a topic from an array of topics. We feel differently. Even with that, if you're just taking general hatred based on we don't feel the same way, right? As an artist, I think about this a lot. As an artist or a creative person, we learn somewhere along the line to think outside the box, right? And what does think outside the box means? It means be thoughtful. It means examine something from a 360-degree perspective. Challenge yourself. Don't rely on the same ideas you always have, And I think when that applies to just being a decent human being or acceptance or whatever you want to call this, that think outside the box translates to something Jaffe said earlier, which I think is respect. It's not even love. It's not even genuine good feeling. It's respect at its base level, right? So I think a lot of us, I look at racism or just general hatred, and it is, what you guys are saying is true. It seems so rampant and out of control sometimes because the internet is just another outlet and everybody's just having at it. Everybody's flying off at the mouth or flying off at the keyboard. But I think what we have to remember, all of us, is that each of us are operating from a very specific vantage point in our lives, just because the way life works, right? We're all planted firmly in our own shoes only. So we have to kind of actively think to sort of put ourselves in somebody's place. We haven't walked in somebody else's shoes, right? So just that ability of thinking outside the box, or in a better way, maybe a better way to articulate it as, is to say, like, really kind of open up your purview and increase your, really kind of broaden your POV and really try to look at things from a broader perspective. And if that doesn't work, really look at it from a simple perspective of why would you hate somebody based on these things that none of us have any control over, A. And B, the other thing that really bothers me is I guess part of it, which is an important aspect of this conversation, I guess, is that I was very lucky to be born not only in a place, but to people that taught me these things as sort of the values of growing up. The people that were around me, our parents, our grandparents, our friends' parents, our neighborhoods. We weren't taught hatred. We were born in a place with a lot of diversity and socioeconomic diversity and racial diversity and diversity of religion growing up in New York. So we were fortunate in one way, but what bothers me and what I think is scary and something I can't relate to is that a lot of this stuff that Jaffe's talking about with these anti-Jewish sentiments, and of course we know the anti-Black stuff that exists and everything, is that this is learned. This is handed down from generation to generation. This is spoon-fed from one to the other. And that's scary. That's a scary thing. And I think what's scary about the internet, again, I like Micah's positivity and thinking, and maybe Micah's right too. Maybe it doesn't exist to the large degree that we hope it doesn't. But the fact that the internet is another tool to spread the hatred is concerning. It's another way of igniting what we used to think of as think of a film like American History X, which was largely pre-internet, right? People were learning this in back rooms and houses and bars and Aryans and whatever else. But now it's like these communities exist on the internet. That's scary. That's scary in that these things could spread now by means of this thing that we all have.
And it's great at doing that. The internet's great at doing that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. In a way, that's partially what it's built for.
But American History X is a really interesting reference because, and obviously you're acknowledging, your privilege of being raised by parents who taught you this stuff and all that. But yeah, in that movie, if people haven't seen it, I remember when the dad is eating dinner with his kids, and I don't remember what happened, but it was like somebody at the fire station or somebody where the dad worked got a promotion. He didn't. And he was blaming, and he's like, oh, it's affirmative action. All these Black folks are taking our jobs, or Jews are taking our jobs and all that. And it becomes difficult, I think, to say to that person, what is it about these things, how they were born, that causes you to hate them, when they actually can give you an answer, not based in truth, although based maybe in the father's view of the truth, which is, I saw a lot of Jews and Black folks and Muslim folks getting shit I didn't, and I feel like me being a white dude is no longer, forget that it's a privileged position. It's worse than privileged position. Now, I don't agree with that, but these people do. And maybe there's truth somewhere in the middle. I don't know. But I think without acknowledging that and figuring out how that fits into that formula, it almost becomes like preaching to the choir. It's like, well, of course you and I can look at Muslims and Black folks and Jewish folks or whatever and say, they're just people. There's nothing, but I don't have the experience of a Muslim person that I feel, only because they were Muslim and it wasn't a Muslim themed video game, getting to direct a game that I know I was more qualified for. That's the American History X example put through the video game filter. So maybe it does go back to what Colin was saying about the socioeconomic stuff is really at the root of all of this, is that there's so many people and so many people are feeling left out, and the media makes its money by making you want shit that you probably don't really want. And even if you did want it, you probably couldn't afford it. And you get brainwashed by these folks making all their money, making you desire things. And in that, it's a recipe to get you angry when you don't get it. Maybe it's all back to that core idea, which is like, this isn't going to work. It's going to explode. But I agree with you. Everything you're saying, I agree with. Absolutely.
The blame thing is so ugly, though. I never even thought about everything like that. But that is something that's existed for many decades, at least in the United States, and maybe it goes back further in other places. But that's such a weird, like, I would think somebody of even marginal intelligence would know that that's just not correct. That's just an excuse, right?
Well, they might be able to intellectually say there's nothing inherently better or worse about a Jew, a Muslim, a black person, an Aryan, pure blood white race person. They're all the same. They're just people. But they might be able to say what is correct is from their view and from their experience, I feel that I am getting the short end of the stick because of my race, to which I would say, welcome to the club. And I'm sure, the blacks and the Muslims would say, and the gays and the trans, say, welcome to the club. There's room for everybody. But that said, though, I do think to them, that's a very real thing that you can't intellectualize your way out of because those are lived experiences. They're just filtered poorly. They took the wrong lessons, unless they were the right lessons. Maybe affirmative action did give somebody the shit end of the stick, but someone's always going to get the shit into the stick. I don't know.
Yeah, I think affirmative action inherently victimizes someone if it's based on merit, only, because then you don't know if it's based on merit or not, which it should just be based on that. That's the way I feel anyway. But and it's interesting, affirmative action is going away. I mean, that's something that the Supreme Court recently went after, and I think that some people looked at affirmative action as kind of a temporary project. Even people that were for it, I think, looked at it as a temporary project. I believe it was Ruth Bader Ginsburg that talked about a little bit about it being a temporary project. And what you guys are talking about is like the biblical idea of scapegoating. I mean, it's ancient, and you kind of distract with a solution. You put your all your animus onto the scapegoat and blah, send it out into the world, and you have to do it to someone. Something needs to be scapegoated. And I think that, I believe more what Mike is saying is probably true, that the general virulent KKK level racists in the United States, in my opinion, number in the hundreds of thousands, and all of them. And I would say that then there are affiliations in that Venn diagram. So I think that there are like a lot of reactionary racists that aren't probably, this is like why people shouldn't throw around the term bigot, right? Which is like this visceral feeling. I think people feel a racist way in this Venn diagram. So a lot of reactionaries, for instance, because they look and they're like, well, the Mexicans are coming to take our jobs, for instance, right? Yeah. And it's like, well, I guess they literally are coming to take your jobs. They're coming across the border and the government's allowing that to happen or whatever, but it's not because they're Mexican and it's not their fault. So I don't think those people have like this virulent racist thing. They're just observational, right? And I think that falls into a different category of just of racism or whatever, or bigotry. And then I think that there's the people, and this goes more into, I guess, gender and sexuality than anything else, than race, but there's a big group of people that I think would be labeled as some sort of bigot or whatever, even though I think that's probably unfair for a lot of them, that simply have common sense questions or concerns about a series of things that are happening, or like, fundamental sacred beliefs that we have to all take for granted at this point. And I think that all of those people get lumped in together, and then you have probably a more sizable group of unsavories, let's say. What did Hillary Clinton call them? The basket of deplorables. But in reality, I don't think that's like I don't think like the hardcore philosophical racists in the United States are a force. I don't think they have been in a few generations probably, and in a major way since the wake of the Civil War. Do you
think evangelical Christians are more of a force in politics than racists are?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't think for my take, I don't think the racism we're talking about has almost any representation in mainstream politics. Like, I don't think your Marjorie Taylor Greens or your Lauren Boeberts or whoever you want to look at as like the conservative members of the House caucus, for instance, are racist. I don't believe that. Like the racists you're talking about, I just don't think that's true.
Yeah. I think they probably have opinions, but I think they're not, saying here's my favorite SS officer from the Holocaust.
Right. Like I just like, right. We're talking like American history X level skinhead stuff. Like I think that that's kind of dead. It seems in a lot of ways outside of prison and crime, kind of scenes or crime situations. I shouldn't say crime scenes. And I do think Mike is right that the internet has magnified that. And I think not that you can take it as a parallel example, but Jaffe, I know you know this. We all make content. And we're talking about the comments you see, and people say some really mean and cutting things, and they have real criticism and stuff like that. And that's totally fine. I would never remove a person's ability to say what they need to say and express themselves. But I also realize that when I look at a video or like an episode of Sacred Symbols, it's like, all right, 50,000 people watched this episode of Sacred Symbols on YouTube. And this guy said Colin's a fucking prick, and it has 17 thumbs up or whatever. Just as an example. I don't know if anyone actually said that specifically. You can say it if you'd like. Start the trend. And I'm like, okay, I think that hurts. It's painful to see, but then you put it in context and you're like, all right, so an NFL stadium's worth of people were here and a row of them in one section didn't like you. So I can live with that.
And they were probably Jews.
And they were probably Jews or black.
Oh no.
So in my opinion, I look at it and I think that this general hatred that you see, whether it's racial or whatever the source of the animus, in my opinion, I think a lot of it is, and I've experienced this or learned this in my own experiences, a lot of it is just removed. The power of it's removed if you just don't participate with it. Do you, when you have Patreon members, and I don't know if any have done this, I have to imagine at least one has, in the Patreon comments, and they're a paying member and they cross the line, do you just kick them out? Yeah, we've kicked out probably in the since we started in 2017, I would say no more than 10 people or something, that really cross the line. But yeah, just because you're a paying customer doesn't mean you can. Yeah, I've started deleting comments on my YouTube, not if they're negative, but if they're just mean spirited. I don't want to look at them anymore. I don't want to see them anymore. You can come at me for my opinions, but I just, and I know that's lame. Like you should be able to let anybody say whatever they want, but I'm like, I got to look at this every day, 10 times a day. I don't want to see this shit all day. And I think that I agree with that. I try not to delete anything, generally speaking, just to give people their say. And it just, I don't know, the Streisand effect and all that kind of stuff. I just try to let things be as much as I can. But I do think that I tried, and I know this is just like a shrug, I guess, but people that leave comments like that or say things or act in certain ways, they're not normal. People don't do that stuff. The people that are truly fulfilled in life or that have something in their lives or whatever, these are profoundly unhappy with the unfettered people. And It's not that I feel bad for them, because I really don't. It's just to kind of put it in the context that you're not dealing with normal people, the people you interact with in society. Can you think of anyone in your life that acts like that on the internet? I can't. I literally can't. I don't know anyone in my real life who would ever leave a comment like that on a bad comment on a YouTube video. But but it's the same way if you spend enough time there of okay, this guy's an asshole at work and I don't have to, I can't handle being around him all fucking day. So that's why I delete it. Cause and this is a recent thing for me. I never used to do that. And now I'm like, oh, you're a dick. Fuck you. Because I just don't want to see it. But I hear you. I mean, you're not wrong. And I think you and Micah's position, Micah, God damn it!
Come on, you got this.
I'm going to start calling you Morning Joe. So which one is she on Morning Joe? Yeah, she's married to Joe. Yeah. But is it Micah or Micah on Morning Joe? It's Micah Brzezinski on Morning Joe. Okay. Okay.
I don't know. What is that?
Micah Brzezinski is the blonde woman with the short hair that's always with Joe Scarborough on the NBC morning show for many years. You've seen her before.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, and it's called Morning Joe. It's an MSNBC show. Yeah.
That's interesting. I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, y'all's opinion, I think, is much more pleasant and positive, and I will try to adopt that because I like that. I'm tired of being mad.
I think one key point that I also just want to say is so much of these comments come from a place of deep insecurity. And that context also helps me to step back and not be angry about it. Because it's the reality, like Colin said, the reality is that a lot of these people are deeply unhappy. And that's where this perceived hatred at someone else is coming from. When I see, a page, that's like a black men's type Facebook page, and they're saying white men are taking our women. And the reality is that that's insecurity of you're saying, why aren't I good enough? they're going about it all the wrong way. But the reality is that they don't hate white people, but they are resentful that they think Black women are preferring white men these days. They think that they're not good enough for Black women. But then I see the same thing from like pages directed at Black women saying like, why are Black men dating white women? Why aren't we good enough? The reality is that they just don't realize that people are just people. I'm not dating Colin because he's white. I'm dating him because I like him a lot. But it's deep insecurity. It's you thinking you're not good enough. You know, like
I hear you and I agree with you. I think though where I disagree, at least with Colin on that same topic, where he says it's not that I care about these people. I don't. It just helps me put it in perspective. I think that's almost part of, not for Colin, but for me, that's almost part of a problem where it's like you can look at those people and go, oh yeah, don't take them that seriously because they're fundamentally unhappy and broken. But then what do you do about that? Because then it goes from being angry to you being sad, because it's like, why do we have so many people? And maybe it's not so many, but why do we have enough people? And we go back to the topic and we don't have an answer for it, that if they're being given anonymity, they will do things to represent just how sad and lonely and unhappy they are. And then it's just like, well, that's not good either. My heart goes out to those people. I want to help those people. So I don't fucking know. Let's talk about milk.
Yeah, that's a good. I love the segue. Yeah, let's just get on to it. Were you all satisfied with this topic?
I'm depressed. Let's talk about milk.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, let's move on. Micah, your topic is milk.
Yes. Yeah, I emailed Dustin to make sure this topic hadn't been done before, because I wasn't sure. To me, this was something that's like been on my mind. This is the topic I want to do for a while, because the milk, all right, beloved childhood beverage, all right, and are you guys familiar with the term Disney adults? Like people who, as an adult, are still obsessed with Disney. They go to Disney a lot, like no kids. I'm
25% Disney adult.
There are milk adults among us, people who like genuinely love milk. I have to give a shout out, one of our, beloved listeners, Sean Mason. All right. He writes in a lot. He had mentioned in the Discord that like him and his wife go through like 1.5 to 2 gallons of milk a week. And I'm like, these are milk adults, because I'm going to give a little bit of my background with milk. All right. I think most kids, you had to drink milk at dinner time, love it or hate it. I enjoyed the glass of milk. My mom always put ice in it, which I liked, a nice glass of milk with ice, 2% usually. And this was before I was very lactose intolerant. We're going to get into that. But like grandma's house, the milk was horrible because grandma would put out the milk like 20 minutes before we got there for dinner. So then it's been sitting, it's not cold anymore. There was a real love-hate with milk. And I loved it though, like at school, you get your milk carton. All right. The rich kids had milk money for like snack time. They'd have their quarter so they could get an extra carton of milk a day. I didn't have that. I got my 1 carton at lunch. But milk is a big thing when you're a kid. You had to choose your flavor. You get white, chocolate, strawberry. They had coffee milk at a certain point when I was in school. Just milk was a big thing. But most adults truly taper off just drinking milk. You'll use it in cereal. You use it in cooking. But there's not a lot of us. It comes out, the kind of Disney adult thing of like the adults who are still very passionate about milk, that still have a glass every night with dinner type thing. It's pretty rare. And I find it very interesting. And that's why I wanted to talk to you guys about it and how we as adults, do we still interact with milk in the same way? Now, going back to me being like a kid, for example, it's always been 2%. I've always loved 2% milk, 1%. Don't come at me with that. I don't want any of that in my house. But we couldn't drink whole milk because that was just horrible. We were slightly lactose intolerant. It got worse as I got older. These days I'm on almond milk. I've tried them all. I tried soy. It's good. It's too distinct. Rice milk, consistency of water. Almond milk is right in the sweet spot there of it's neutral enough. I can use it in coffee, cereal, etc. But I still cook with real milk. Colin's not drinking almond milk, that's for sure. But the thing about milk is that it has its own place for me these days. Like Colin might occasionally have a bowl of cereal, but I don't see him pouring a big glass of milk with dinner, And it's also an idea, Jaffe mentioned this a little bit at the beginning. A lot of us have a slight aversion to milk, even if we like it. And I just as an example, like Colin doesn't like to smell the milk to see if it's gone bad he would just open the next one that's in the fridge if he suspects that it's not fresh anymore.
Amen.
And I just find that interesting, though, because it's true. Like, do I like having to smell the milk before I use it? No. But I'll smell it. It could be, 2 weeks out. I'll still smell that milk because I'm paranoid about it. It's a weird beverage. It's almost like it's alive. And like, I'm checking the freshness. I have to smell it first. There's something a little weird about that I don't like. But you have to use it. I can't make mac and cheese without milk. It's just, I don't know. I just find milk a very interesting thing that we all kind of interact with in various ways. And whether you like it or not, you might still have like a hang up with it. Like if it's not ice cold, I won't drink it. If it's not, if it's like 1 day past but still smells fine, won't drink it, So I want to just get into that a little bit. I'd love to start with Jaffe and, tell me your relationship with milk, whether it goes way back or
it goes way back.
Just tell me all about it.
All right. Well, first, let's be clear. I think it's very known why, as you become an adult, you move away from milk. And that's because you realize it looks like a cup of semen. And it's like, I ain't drinking that. That's part of it.
Sign me up.
Well, okay, fair enough. But that said, I never liked milk as a kid. My brother got so mad once because they really wanted me to drink milk, and they would pay me $5 a night to drink a glass of milk. And even
God.
Yeah. And he was like, what the fuck? I drink it for free. This is bullshit. But even then I wouldn't drink it. And I would eat it in cereal, and I sucked a bottle until I was 6 years old, and I had milk in the bottle, and I loved it. But milk in a cup, seeing the milk, I'm like, I ain't doing it. Right. So even to this day, I'll have it in cereal. I'll put it in eggs, and I would drink it if I had to. Like if I ever go on Hot Ones or something, and I'm ever get big enough to go on Hot Ones.
You're getting there.
No, Colin should go on Hot Ones. He's big enough, and I'd be interested to see it. But then I could see, oh my God, I need a glass of milk. But short of that, I do almond milk. I like chocolate milk. I just never, something about it was just a turnoff. And then about 5 years ago, and this is why now I don't drink it on the regular. I will use it, like you said, for cooking or what have you, and I'll use cream for certain things. Is I saw this video, and it's kind of like Colin was saying with the chickens and the rows. I know there's no, wow, really, Jaffe? You mean animals are abused? But the one that really got through to me was this little device, this like 10-cent device that they put on the I know this is a dumb question. Only women cows do milk, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. What was that movie in, was it with Pinhead where he says, we don't have a cow, we have a bull? It was like Woody Harrelson drinking the big thing of milk because he thought he had milked the cow. And he's like, we don't have a cow,
I know what
we
you're
have a
talking
bull.
about. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, that was a great movie. But I'm watching this thing, and they put this little cheap plastic device on the mother's udders. And so what it would do is when the baby calf would go to try to get milk, it would automatically just flap down, and the baby couldn't drink the mom's milk because they wanted to keep it for the factory to make it, to market it and sell it and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, that along with what I hear, and I don't know how much this is true or not, I haven't looked into it, but not the lactose intolerant stuff, but just the fact that milk and cheese, very much, these things being a staple of our diet has a lot more to do with lobbying and a lot more to do with the government and policies and subsidies, and sort of even the food pyramid is politicized in terms of sort of why things are, this is what you should eat and all that. And ultimately, maybe it's not that good for you. That all of those things just in a big mixing bowl, I'm just like, I'll drink the almond milk, and I'll only do it in cooking and cereal. For me, it's Diet Coke all the way.
No, it's a good point because, this comes up the whole thing that like there's no ethical consumption anyways. Yeah. But it is true that it gave me a bit of pause because this is another obvious statement, but it's just something you don't think about is that, cows to produce milk have to be pregnant. You're essentially keeping these cows perpetually pregnant their entire lives. Pregnancy sucks across the animal kingdom. usually very uncomfortable. They don't generally like it. And then once they can't have babies anymore, then it's like, great, now we're going to eat you. And it's just one of those things. It's like, I'm always probably going to eat meat. I don't ever see myself not doing that, but it's true that it does give you a little pause to be like, this glass of milk is from a cow that's been pregnant its entire life. That kind of sucks. But also, it's like, what are we going to do without it?
Sorry for we keep having a connection issue, so sorry about that. Where Micah was talking, so Micah, go back if you have anything you'd like to continue.
You were saying the cow's pregnant all the time.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things that it makes you just pause for a moment and say, oh, this product that for me is just an everyday thing I pick up at the store, don't really think about it, and it just gives you pause for one moment, such as when it became like a big internet trend when people found out that some vanilla flavoring comes from like beaver anal glands. And that was a really big thing. People finding out that like your vanilla scented candles, are very often using this component from beaver butts. And then people were like, what? Or when Starbucks, I think it was a thing of like the red beetle extract that they use for like like coloring. And it's like, this is a ground up bug. But it's like, when we find it out, and then what's the reaction? We just keep doing it. Keep buying your vanilla candles. You keep buying your red Starbucks drink. The reality is that it'll give you pause for a moment, and then your average person is like, still tastes fine. So It's just one of those things like, yeah, milk has some weird issues around it. But then I'm like, well, there's not really a great alternative for when I want to make my, homemade mac and cheese. There's no alternative that works for everything. I can use almond milk for a whole bunch of stuff. You make pancakes with it. Pretty much anything sweet, it'll work. But when you go over to the savory side of life, there's just not a lot.
Homemade mac and cheese with milk is the shit, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be milk. But yeah, Dagan, I want to kick this over to you next. Where does milk fall in your life currently? And what were your origins with milk?
What's your backstory?
Moo juice, good old moo juice. I have a complicated relationship with milk, which is Jaffe's making me think too. My thing was mayonnaise, and Helene maintains that my sort of polarized relationship with mayo has to do with the semen thing. That's why I don't like it. Can never be too much. That whole thing. She's like, it's, it reminds you of that. And I'm like, I don't know what it is. Milk is a very similar thing though, because I will not drink a glass of milk. I find it absolutely off-putting. But I'm a huge cereal guy, and I'm not going with dry cereal. Then and now, I need it in my cereal, and it's got to be vitamin D, whole milk. But here's the thing. I don't know if Colin would remember this because this might have been pre-Colin. But our mom, I think, set the template inadvertently. Maybe vertently, I don't know why, but she skeeved milk, and I knew that from being.
Jaffe doesn't know
young.
what that word means. It means it's like you don't like it.
Skeeved. She was totally disgusted with milk.
Okay.
Couldn't stand it. So she was really grossed out by milk, and I think I knew that from a very young age. She used to. I don't know why I remember this, but she used to say to us, me and my sisters at least, she used to say, like, I don't mind sharing your juice or if you have a soda or sharing the same food from a plate, but I will not share somebody's glass of milk. That really grosses me out. And she wouldn't even share our milk. And I remember thinking, that's weird. That's our own mom. She skeeves me out. She hates milk that much. And I think that sort of set the tone.
Would she drink her own milk? Like a glass of milk for her?
Milk wasn't.
Okay, so it wasn't sharing. She just didn't like milk in general.
I think it was in general, Jaffe, because our parents, we ate really well growing up. We were Italian. I think that's part of it, and I'll explain that. But they were also pretty health conscious. Like, we ate healthy, but milk was not, us having to drink milk as kids was not a part of that. At least not post-toddler.
Did
like,
she cook
we weren't
with it,
expected
though?
to drink milk.
Yeah, she cooked with milk.
She cooked with it. Okay.
Yeah, cooked with milk, scrambled eggs.
All that. Okay.
Mashed potatoes.
Of course, we had cereal. It was always whole milk. There was never skim.
Yeah, whole milk. That's the other thing is like just whole milk. That I was so weirded out by every other kind of milk when I was a kid except for whole milk.
Yeah, it was so. If we went to somebody else's house, like a friend's house, I remember how watery it looked.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, so I think very early on, the expectation was we didn't have to drink milk. And I remember actually being grossed out by milk, not because my mom handed that down, but also because I would go to like a friend's house, let's say, and they'd have spaghetti for dinner, but they'd be drinking milk with it. And that really spoke to, is it that this person's just not Italian? Because my Italian friends did not do that. They had juice or water or maybe soda, but never milk, especially with any kind of pasta or Italian dish. That was a sure sign that you weren't Italian growing up. Like either a Jewish friend or an Irish friend or any other kind of friend. Milk with dinner, yes, but not in Italian houses that I grew up.
Is that how you learn to identify the people to hate?
Yeah. Anybody not Italian. And I was half Irish, so there was a lot of self-loathing too.
Yeah,
it's like,
of course.
You know. So that was a big thing with me. And then I understand being grossed out by milk though, because did you ever go look at a cow? You know, that fuzzy, bloated water balloon swaying down bottom there. It's pretty disgusting.
It's fucked.
It's pretty gross.
It's pretty weird. Like it's so funny how we've learned through animal husbandry and all this stuff 10,000 years ago or whatever to just extract all of this shit out of keeping the animal alive and be like, oh, we get more value out of you by you being alive. And we'll keep you pregnant, take all your eggs, we'll take all your milk. It's like a Black Mirror episode from the perspective of an animal. Yeah. It's like, they're like this
ultimately,
perpetual
let's
state.
say we fixed all of that. Like you said, you could make meat and it tasted just as good, if not better, but it was all, manufactured.
Yeah.
Then you are left with the question of, well, what are the, and it's a very arrogant human perspective, but that's the only one I got. What are these things here for then? Because I do hear that argument, and it's like, maybe we have this, whether there is a creator or it's pure evolutionary chaos, we evolved and the ecology in general evolved so we could eat this stuff, right?
Totally.
I mean, what are you going to do with all the cows otherwise? What are we going to do with, we're just going to let them, I don't know, live where in the future?
Well, that's the whole thing that I guess people don't play out is that when the cows that are alive now, so let's say there's like this great animal liberation, right? And then all the cows that are alive just die, and then that's it. I mean, it's not like there's that. Who's going to feed them? Why would they live? Where are they going to go? So they do kind of exist they exist because I think chickens, I'm pretty sure, come from like Southeast Asia or something like that, and then they just they're like naturally from there, and so maybe there would still be some chickens running around there or something. Who knows? But
it's like fish. Fish are the grossest fucking thing in the world too. Their little mouth always open. Fucking eyes that blink, and it's like, what do they have a life going on? I mean, I'm not saying they don't, but I'm like, and I'm not saying that means we get to eat them and kill them, but it's just so weird that when you think about, where would we go if we stopped all of that? Yeah. I mean, the natural order would take care of overpopulation of certain species and all that, but it's weird. Then you're just like, what is it? Just like, I don't know. They're just here because they're here. Why are you here, fucker? Shut up. I don't know.
How can something... Like, I think milk is pretty gross. Sorry, Micah. But the byproduct of milk, one of the main byproducts, ice cream, one of the best things ever.
Yeah.
That's weird. That's kind of a weird dynamic. I love ice cream.
Absolutely. I mean, when I think of all the things that milk is in, partly because I'm lactose intolerant and I have to always monitor that. And it's just like, for example, like Honey Bunches of Oats for years had milk in it, like in the cereal. So I couldn't eat Honey Bunches of Oats because it upset my tummy. They don't put it in there anymore though, so now I can have it. But it's like all these random things. It's like milk being, to most adults, like milk is not something that they're going to go have a glass of, but they'll readily eat, like myself included, cheesecake and all these things without it being like, that's kind of gross, right? It's solidified milk. Cheese is solid milk, but like we don't love cheese. We don't say, no, that's gross. Like we love cheese.
What do most adults drink at dinner?
I'm having like water, usually like a bubbly seltzer, Okay. That's my go-to.
Most adults, I would say, would be water. Yeah. Right?
Perrier,
or soda.
If it's sparkling, water, if it's sparkling, I'm down. But I couldn't just drink a glass of water for dinner. It's like part of the meal is the drink.
I agree. I drink one Pepsi a day, and it's with my dinner.
Yeah,
well,
I gotta.
Although I gotta say, if you haven't experienced eating like a slice of chocolate cake and washing it down with a glass of ice water, there is a unique thing there because people's default would be milk. But when you have a glass of ice water washing down like a Reese's peanut butter cup or like a piece of chocolate cake. It's a unique experience and quite good.
Well, you added the ice. Now it's magic. Without the ice,
Gotta
it's
have
crushed
that, yeah.
ice. Now let me tell you something else, man. I have fallen in love recently with pink lemonade. I don't know why, but I drink
so
the
good.
shit out of pink lemonade,
Dude, I love
man.
lemonade.
I have the groceries delivered because I don't like to go outside. I don't know why. I do go outside, but I'm just like, it's so weird how I never go outside. Anyway, listen, Ritalin. Oh, Ritalin. It's time for Ritalin. That's what's going on. But anyway, the point is though, I'll have them deliver like 4 cartons of pink lemonade, Minute Maid pink lemonade.
Oh, Minute Maid, that is good stuff.
Oh my God. It's so just refreshing to drink that shit, man.
Yeah,
Oh,
lemonade
yeah.
is
No, we love
lemonade is
lemonade.
yeah, it's so good. I used to drink so much of the Newman's Own lemonade. You know,
Yes.
Yes.
and it's so bad for you. It's actually better to drink Coke than it is to drink that stuff. Like in terms of
too much
in
sugar.
terms of calorie and sugar.
Yeah.
It's like that stuff's actually worse, which is
Yeah.
that's why I stopped drinking it when I realized, wow, my orange. I would be like, I'm not drinking Coke and Pepsi anymore. I'll drink orange juice and lemonade. And people
It's like twice as much sugar.
People are
or
like, that's
something.
like 7 times worse for you than just drinking Coke. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I'll
I
just
would
do
say
instead.
that if mayonnaise is come for you, and for me, semen is the milk, I think pink lemonade is like come from a rainbow. That's what it's like.
Mm.
Okay.
And
All
I would
right.
market it as that. And I think it would be huge.
I used to make a big glass of like the Minute Maid stuff when I was a kid, but I learned it from our neighbor. I'd just take one scoop and just put it right in the glass and then just make that and just drink that. It's like, dude, that's just mainlining sugar. Right?
Yeah, it really
Loved
is.
it. But that's the thing, Dave, that I'm so glad you brought it up is that we had no milk culture around milk in our family whatsoever.
None.
Like it was just not even a thing that we drank. We had it for cereal. I mean, that's what I specifically remember for. And I'm sure mom had it for cooking. And that's basically it. So I remember my best friends growing up, they drank milk with their dinner. And they were one of those families where you had to clear your plate and had to drink the whole glass of milk. And I felt like it was very novel. So I used to not mind doing it. I was like, oh, this is cool. I get to like eat at their house tonight. I'm going to drink the fucking glass of milk. I'm going to have
Didn't
the
you
roast
as
beef.
a kid feel like, what is this, the 50s? I felt like that.
Yeah, well,
I was
it
like,
felt-
that's old school.
It felt very nuclear, which is probably why I came to like it after a while, you know? Like,
yeah.
I was like, yeah, this is what real families do, not broken ones. You know? And so I was like drinking my milk and eating my roast beef and my mashed potatoes. And I remember that, like, you had to clear the plate and it was a very serious, it felt very serious. We came from I don't want to be, we weren't flippant about it, but it's like, if you didn't finish your food, it's like, all right, just throw it in fucking garbage, I guess. No one gave a fuck what you did, you know?
Gave it to the
Dude, how
dog.
about the kids we grew up with that had to drink milk even when they went out to eat? That was always like, whoa, what? You're getting a glass of milk at a restaurant?
Yeah, it's gross.
So disgusting.
Well, and talking about, having to clean your plate, like my dad was so fanatical about the price of milk that like if you have a bowl of cereal and he would like judge how much milk was left at the bottom, he'd pour it into a measuring cup and be like, there's a quarter cup of milk left behind. And it's like, that's cool,
Wow.
Dad. Like now it's in this measuring cup and I'm definitely not going to drink it now. Like, you've extracted it from the bowl. I'm definitely not going to drink it at this point. Because it wasn't about being wasteful. It's just like, no, I ate the cereal.
Yeah,
It's
that's
done.
the use of the milk is like,
But
it's like eating all the oil out of a pan after you cook a piece of meat.
Yeah,
It's like, no, the
but
oil's done. We're done with the oil now.
it's okay to have a little bit of a waste product. I do have to bring this up, though, talking about cereal, because it's a shout out to the Buffalo, New York cousins in my family. The way they ate cereal was they'd eat the cereal dry out of the bowl with a spoon, and they would drink a glass of milk as they went. And I remember watching them do that when I was a kid. They're like Colin's age. So like I was a kid, they were like teenagers. And I remember just being like, what are you doing? And they're like, just having a bowl of cereal. And they're just eating the dry cereal, taking their sips of milk. And I just thought like,
Kept
I
it
don't know what's
crunchy,
going
I
on
see.
in New York.
Wow.
There's a bowl. I keep meaning to buy one. I saw it like on the internet where you put the dry cereal in and every time you
Yes.
take a bite, the milk pours in just for that bite.
Yeah.
And I
Oh.
forget how it works, but it keeps your cereal crunchy, but you still eat it with milk. It's pretty cool.
You see though, but then you're getting rid. I like the soggy boys at the end. Like that's a whole thing of like I like the crunch of the first crunch of cereal, but as you get to the end of the bowl, they should be soft. It's a sense of urgency to get it over with. First of all, the milk's getting warm, but it's like that's your reward at the end. You're eating your bowl of Reese's Puffs, and at the very end, they're just already pre-chewed and just ready to go right down your gullet. That's the reward at the end.
I don't know.
Colin, did you have anything else to say about milk?
No, I don't have anything else to say about it. I don't know how to follow that up.
Chocolate or strawberry, guys, if you have to choose.
Oh, chocolate.
Chocolate or, you know what? Ovaltine. The original Ovaltine, I'd go home, I'd put 4 tablespoons of it in a plastic cup, pour in my milk. That was my after school snack. Like every day I'd have Ovaltine, bowl of ramen noodles. It was fantastic. That was living.
Ramen noodles, that's good stuff. That's
Yeah.
good
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
Dude, I love the creamy chicken Maruchan ramen noodles. I used to love that shit. Oh, my
Creamy so good.
Yeah, it's the yellow one. Like the golden
Did
yellow
you
package. Yeah.
Ever watch Everybody Hates Chris?
No,
Yes.
I didn't. I know what it is, but
Do you
I've never
remember Terry Crews is the dad? He sounds like your dad, where everything was like penny pinching and stuff and wasteful. And I got to get a soundbite for my soundboard, but there's that one episode where Chris spills a little bit of Kool-Aid, like not water Kool-Aid, but just the whatever it is, the pepper, the
powder.
whatever, the powder. And Terry Crews goes over and the camera gets real low. And he's like, just a little sprinkle. He goes, that's 10 cents worth of Kool-Aid. He can literally judge how much money was wasted with the Kool-Aid spilled. So I'm always going to envision now Terry Crews as your father. So.
Well, he couldn't be more the opposite. My dad is 5'2", you know, a Scottish man, but the cheapness quite compares.
That's 10 cents worth of Kool-Aid. I have no idea to do a Scottish accent. Can you do a Scottish accent?
I can't. We're not
That's
like...
hard.
Like we are, like, as Colin would say, we're culturally Scottish. We're really into it. My dad would wear a kilt to special occasions.
Oh,
They
wow.
have the family crest hanging up on their door. We have our own tartan that we buy from the catalog.
Is
But,
he
like,
from? Like,
we're not. Like, I mean, like, our family way back when is.
Oh,
like,
okay,
you know, because
gotcha.
he's Scottish on both sides, his mom and dad. But, like, are any of us, like, you have a Scottish accent? No. Like, we're not that recent. You know, we've been here a while. But we do
Gotcha.
really like that part of our heritage, I guess.
It's cool.
Are you satisfied with your jaunt into the wonders of milk?
The world.
This was
of
good.
milk.
This was very good. Thank
Good.
you.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. All right. Let's end this episode. I wanted to talk to you guys briefly. I mean, this is a huge topic, so I wanted to just talk about it from a specific perspective, but free-to-play games, just been thinking about them a lot recently. And I'm just curious what everyone's interaction with them is historically and more recently, and if you think that they're a net positive or negative, or if you just think they're net neutral to the industry and to the medium. And I'm especially interested in hearing from you, Jaffe, from a commercial perspective on how you think it works and how you specifically interact with them. Because I this comes primarily from the fact that I keep seeing games. There was that, I don't know if you saw, Jaffe, that game Project Mugen. It's like it's like that open world
engine.
gotcha game from a Chinese firm, I think, and it's like really
Maybe I'm
beautiful.
thinking of something
And
different. Okay.
and then obviously you have like Honkai Star Rail and Genshin Impact and all these games, and I'm like, this is kind of like a Colin style game, but I don't want to interact with it because I don't want it. I'd rather just be able to buy it. And it brings me back to my only real interaction, and it was a really negative one, obviously, because it really painted everything for me moving forward. I remember I got my iPad 2, which was my only iPad in 2011, and I was about to go to Germany for like a work trip, and I downloaded Plants vs. Zombies 2, and the game simply wouldn't let you pay for it. Like, no matter what you did, everything, it was just nickel and diming you to death. Oh, more stages, like earn more suns or pay this and all, whatever it was. And I got really annoyed from just a philosophical point of view about a game. As a game consumer, I'm like, I just want to buy this. Like I bought the first Plants vs. Zombies. Make me a game or give me a version of the game that just allows me to pay you $20 and just they'll leave me alone forever version. And I think they eventually did do stuff like that, but they didn't do that at launch. And it really painted a bad picture for me about the nickel and diming of free to play. And ever since then, so it's been 12 years, basically, I've totally stayed away from it. I don't think there's a single free to play game I've played since then. Maybe Rocket League would be one, but that wasn't originally free to play and I wasn't playing it when it was free to play. So I really am outside of it. And it just seems strange. I know a lot of the games like Fortnite are obviously huge because they're good. I understand that. And Rocket League obviously is very good, and Fall Guys and I don't know, whatever fucking games people play now. But it just seems like a whole nother sphere of gaming that I don't almost take as a legitimate form of gaming, even though it is the most legitimate form of gaming commercially, even though it is the most legitimate in terms of player base and all the rest. Billions of dollars in revenue from Fortnite alone, profit from Fortnite alone. And I don't know. I just wanted to hear what you guys' current and maybe historical thoughts are on free-to-play games as we wrap up this episode. Jaffe, I go to you first. What comes to mind for you?
Well, just so I'm clear, are you putting games as a service and free to play mostly in the same category, or you're talking regardless of it's meant to be a long tail service game? It's the free part you want to talk about.
Yeah, it's like free entry. Yeah, so I'm not talking about something like Destiny or whatever, or a game with like a game that the Division or something. That would be it. That's kind of the intermediary between what I would consider like the AAA paid space and the free to play space, and that's
because those are all bloodbath right now. Those are dying left and fucking right. Every couple of days, someone's shutting another one down. I saw one launched yesterday that I can't remember the name of it. I'm like, who is no name publisher, no name game. And I'm just like, so that's its own thing. Free to play. One of my favorite games of all time, or two of my favorite games of all time, are free to play. One is Hearthstone, although I don't like it much anymore. And the other one's Marvel Snap. So I spend $10 a month for the season pass, and it's always $10 well spent. I'm very happy to support the game. I love it. I play it multiple times a day. I think it's just a valid, business model. If it hits the right game, I think it's very much like network television, where you can get a lot of people in, and you're going to get people spending money, and a lot of people don't. But you get to entertain a lot of people for it. I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. I wouldn't. I wouldn't want that business model. And I don't think it's as bad as it was. I think enough consumers push back on the constant stop bothering me to buy shit every 5 seconds. And also, Apple Arcade, if you're talking mobile, has been great because they take great games and there's no microtransactions, there's no ads. And so, you get to appreciate that. But I won't play most free-to-play games, though, because it's very clear that my skill or my ability or my own agency is eventually going to butt up against a paywall, and then the whole design gets thrown out of whack to me, because then I'm like, well, am I winning because I'm good? Am I winning because I paid to win? And it is a generational thing. I mean, kids today, are very much about free to play. It doesn't mean they don't also buy games, but like Roblox and Fortnite and Call of Duty Warzone and, Fall Guys is now free to play. It wasn't at first. I think it's a valid business model, and some people are able to design games to begin with and then build a monetization system from the ground up to say, we're going to design this to be compelling and not piss off gamers, but we're also going to get the juice out of free to play, which is a huge audience and a huge funnel. So I think you can do it right. If you haven't really gotten into it in the last 12 years, I can understand why your experience with it would be it's all shit. But I haven't found that, but I do find games where I have to pay. Any game where I have to pay for an ability, where it affects the gameplay, I'm out. I have no interest in that, because that's not what a game is to me. But hell, they make shit tons of money, man. People love them.
Yeah, fair enough. Those are good thoughts. Dagan, where are you on this topic?
I think of two things. First thing, I have a 13-year-old, super into Fortnite, a little bit Rocket League still, and actually it seems like his whole social life is revolving around Fortnite right now. Very important to him. And really into it, does the tournaments, really engaged. I have to provide the context of saying I'm not at all a social or online gamer at all. I don't even understand games from that vantage point because I've never really... Couch co-op is that's it. That's the extent of it. But to me, it still smacks of being very predatory because it's not really free. And especially with Graydon, because he's so engaged and he's so into it. And I see he's not old enough to have his own credit card, his own PayPal account. So I see what he's spending. He's spending our money. And, he's spending at least $30 a month playing this game, to the point where I'm like, maybe that's not so much. That's kind of his hobby right now. It's fine, whatever. But it gets to the point where I try to sell him on just playing other stuff, whether it's something I'm playing for knockback or something we're talking about on the Switch for punching up, just playing more, just getting outside of Fortnite and playing actual, I say actual games, so playing games of another stripe.
No, that's it is
use
an
it as a
actual
selling
game.
point.
Yeah.
Actual, but it is important. And so I see it through his lens. The second thing I think of as just being an old man and being very old school, I have this, when I hear free games, I have this weird bias, and I think it is somewhat wrong-headed and a little antiquated, where I hear the word free in, conjunction with entertainment, whether it's movies, TV, or games. And the first thing I think of is that's going to suck. It's going to be low quality. It's not going to be worth my time. I think of like being on YouTube Premium, huge YouTube mark, right? Pay for YouTube Premium. They have the free movies. I won't even look at them half the time because I'm like, I'm not going to want to watch any of this crap. It's free. How good can it be, in other words? But I understand what Jaffe's saying. I never thought about this before. And of course, this is Jaffe's game making perspective, but I understand the accessibility thing, right? Because you could potentially get a lot of eyes and maybe hearts and minds in a game, engage them, hook them, and then you're providing that revenue stream when they need to play. Then it's the DLC and the pay to play and the skins and everything you need to get better at the game. And so I understand that model, and I understand the quality of these games is getting better. I mean, I'm thinking about it. It's 15 years, right, of smartphones now. So I'm thinking back to like Angry Birds and Candy Crush and what Colin said with Plants vs. Zombies. You even think about something a little more contemporary like Pokemon Go, which was like an actual thing that people really enjoyed, and it was free, right? But so it is interesting, and I always think like, how are they, if the studio or the game, the game publisher or the movie house isn't paying for this thing, it must be getting a revenue stream through advertising. But now I kind of realize, no, it's this whole thing of hooking people, getting them over time. It's a slow burn. And then when they get addicted, I guess, or we get to the point where they really want to play it, then they'll pay, give you a few bucks. And then that's the carrot and the stick. It's very interesting, but I exist very much outside of that world, but it's kind of fascinating seeing the quality of these things and what's available for free, kind of growing. And also the fact that I guess to a certain degree, you could also keep the experience free, right? I mean, if you don't go in for the skins, if you don't go in for the DLC and the upgrades and the weapons and all that kind of thing.
I played the shit out of Diablo Immortal, never spent a dime.
Yeah.
See, that's awesome.
I was happy to go buy Diablo 4 for $70 or whatever it was. But Diablo Immortal, if you don't really get into the PvP and all that shit, and you just play it like I do as sort of a mostly single player game, I never spent a dime, and I was very satisfied for about a week, and then I moved on with my life. But yeah, I think you were saying something about like, I'm curious about your son on Fortnite. Does he mainly just play the Battle Royale? Because what's interesting about Fortnite and Roblox now is there are hundreds of community created games and pro created games from outside companies that use Fortnite. If you log into Fortnite, you can go to, I think it's called Creative or whatever, and you can see just a shit ton of variants of shooters and things that aren't even shooters at all. Does he stay mostly in the Battle Royale world?
Yeah, he started it in that wider world, Jaffe, like probably started at 11 years old, and he was doing more of that stuff, but it seems strictly Battle Royale now.
Right.
That's what he's doing. He's engaging with that with, I guess he has 3 or 4 friends, so they do it, 4 or 5 of them at a time. And it really does seem to be, I don't even know if he would play if they weren't on. It's to that degree of... I'm sorry to interrupt. I saw this yesterday. I was doing research and I saw that Gen Z's favorite games compared to everyone else's favorite games. And the number one thing that they identified as why they play is the social part of it. It's where they hang out with their friends. Yeah.
So it makes sense. It totally makes sense.
Totally different to when we were growing up. Maybe we were playing Mortal Kombat on the couch together.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, as someone who, was in high school in the late 90s and into 2000 and 2001, it was N64 was a mega social machine for us. I mean, we were gathered around that thing, sitting Indian style around it all the time. I mean, it's the way we had to do it back then.
Sure,
I remember getting a Dreamcast and having the keyboard, and that was cool to be able to like talk to people on on screen when we were playing like NBA 2K or something. But that was very primitive. I think I was just a little too young to find use in that. By the time I joined Xbox Live in 2003, and I was only on it for a couple of years on the original Xbox, it was cool. It was unique and different to be able to talk to people around the world, but it didn't become the sticky part of my life at all. I play games for the exact opposite reason, I guess, is what I'm saying. But Micah, where are you on the free to play question today?
Yeah. So as you guys might know, I love multiplayer games. I'm a big fan of Call of Duty or like Gears of War Online. Like those are some of my favorite places to hang out. I do love competitive, online shooters. When it comes to free to play stuff, though, I'm the person Dagan mentioned of I will keep it free. I played Fortnite for a while, and it's fun. It's a good deal of fun. I enjoy the Battle Royale mode, but I didn't spend a dime on it. The interesting thing, though, is realizing when they have these really big collaborations, like they had like a Naruto collaboration, all these things, and you realize that your fun experience is kind of being subsidized by the people who spend a lot of money on it. The kids who are asking their parents, oh, can I get this for $5? Can I get this? Give me some V-Bucks, whatever. Like, It really is. My fun on that game was completely supported by the children of the world who were like, but I need that skin, Dad. And I would part of it just being an adult and saying, I don't care that I'm just playing as the default character. I don't care that my gun doesn't look cool. I'm better than all you kids, and I'm going to show you what I can do. So it's just like, I don't need to look cool in the game. Like I'm playing it. But I'm also in general very anti-microtransaction. And like one of the only times I've ever bought a skin ever was in the last Gears game. They had an online skin for like my favorite character, who's Baird. And they had specifically Mechanic Baird, who's like my favorite multiplayer skin from Gears 3. And I was like, I have to buy this. It's maybe the only microtransaction like I've ever bought because it was my favorite character, though. But when I watch like my sister's kids play Fortnite, and my sister is very much like, I'm not giving you money for that, except like very rarely. Like, you can have the next battle pass, whatever it is, occasionally. But like, this game's supposed to be free. She's like, it's free, isn't it? And they'll be like, yeah. And she's like, so go play it. You don't need the red pants. Like, who gives a fuck what color pants your guy's wearing? Like, go play it. And I think that is just the perspective of, like, as Dagan said, being predatory. It's like, these games are clearly designed to get children to impulse buy things, to ask their parents to buy them things. Because at the end of the day, you really are just playing an online shooter. It doesn't matter what color the gun is or what color pants you have on, but the kids just want it. And like, that's how the mind of a child works. They just see something they want and they just can't stop thinking about it. And then they'll ask you like, can I have $5 to buy this? And your average parent will be like, well, you play this, 50 hours a month. I guess $5 is worth it, right? But it totally is just like, but the game's free. And it's the stuff I can't wrap my own head around of, like, generally speaking, if it's supposed to be free, I can't bring myself to spend money on it, even if I want to. Like when they had the Naruto collaboration, I was like, oh man, I want to play as Kakashi, but I was like, but I'm not giving them a dime. I'm not doing it. Like,
they've started calling it free to download or something like that. Like there's a bit of a different, I'm not sure if they're doing that because of what you're saying, but I have started seeing that term cropping up more. I've never really understood why it was there. Maybe it's that. I don't think it's just kids though that do it.
Oh no, certainly not. No.
I think
they're more impulsive. Like I think kids are generally more impulsive than adults. Like there are certainly adults who say, yeah, I'll buy that skin. But I do think the bulk of like the purchasing is coming from kids who that's what they ask for their birthday. I want $50 in Fortnite money.
Yeah, that's
what our nephew asked for that one year. Our nephew said, I want Fortnite money.
My
So
kids
it's
ask for that for Animal Jam. Yeah, absolutely.
exactly. So it's like, I just think that it's certainly largely coming from children. Not
But
all, but a big
it's
part.
really interesting. It used to be, and I don't know if this has changed, but I think it has. It used to be, they would call them the whales, right?
Mhm.
Like 95, 99% was subsidized by a very small percentage who would spend crazy money.
Yes.
But I think that has gotten relaxed in a meaningful way because of like what you're saying, whether it's a $9 season pass, that would not be a whale back in the day,
No.
but there's a lot of people doing that. So I think what's kind of healthy about it in terms of economy is it's no longer, all or nothing. It's people are sort of finding things that make sense to them to purchase. I also think part of it is that it's digital and people are just conditioned. Like if you think about it, everything in your life is a microtransaction. When you go to the store and buy bread and you run out of bread, you go buy more bread.
Mhm.
You don't buy bread once and you have bread forever. Same with eggs, same with, a car even. I mean, everything is for the most part designed to be getting you, coming back to the store and giving them your money. So I don't really see this being all that much different other than that a lot of times in games, I don't find what they sell very satisfying. But every now and then,
Right.
like Marvel Snap, I can't wait for Marvel Snap next season. It's all Halloween themed and Ghost Riders in it. There's some cool cards.
Oh, that's
and,
cool.
Yeah, I'm like, fuck, I'm there. I can't wait. Call of Duty has Lara Croft. They just announced Spawn is in it today or this week or this Halloween season. Skeletor is fucking in it.
I did see that.
I'm like, you goddamn right. I'm going to, although I accidentally spent $750 on Call of Duty coins recently. So it was a total accident. Sony gave me my money back, but they haven't taken away the coins. And I've been like, I called them and I said, what do I do with this? And they said, I don't know, call Activision. I'm like, no, I'm not calling Activision. I'm going to spend these motherfucking coins. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know what I'm going to do because I don't want to break the law. I'm not breaking the law, but I don't want to be a
No, yeah, you want to do the
shithead.
right thing. Yeah.
I want to do the right
but
thing.
it's also on them it's their system. If they can't figure out that they gave you a refund and they can't take the product back, it's like, well, I guess am I just gonna let these sit here forever? Like if let's say you buy $20 worth, are you gonna be like, I'll only spend the 20 I spent and the rest of those just have to sit in my account forever?
My kids wouldn't because they're okay with cheating, but for me, I think I would have to because I just can't. I can't do it.
Can I tell you a revelation I had about Fortnite? And this happened on Sacred Symbols, and people will remember it, is when I learned how much money people were spending on Fortnite. Not the gross amount of cumulative money that Fortnite has made, but how much individual people are paying for what they're getting on Fortnite. When I was told that many skins are $20 on Fortnite, that made me want to throw up. That is such a fucking ripoff.
It's a lot of money.
And that is, and people balk at spending $70 on Spider-Man 2 or something, and then they give you $20 for a Goku skin. That's not only embarrassing from a commercial standpoint, I mean, more power to you, I guess, but it's embarrassing from a value standpoint that people sit around and bitch about the cost of games and how much it costs. I got to spend money to buy a 25 or 30 hour, or 50 hour AAA beautiful game. And then they'll turn around, many of these people, and be like, oh yeah, $20 on a skin. It's like that value proposition is upside down. And I think really dangerous actually to, it's like the pernicious shit that happens when, as an example, what happened with early iPhones and the race to the bottom. It's not that was bad for that ecosystem. It was awesome for that ecosystem because they made tons and tons of money. It's just that the pernicious ramifications of it came about and infiltrated. That's why we have, season passes and microtransactions and all this kind of stuff. So I look at what's happening with free-to-play games, and I think it's great that it's weird. We're all old enough to know that there wasn't an expectation that a game was free ever when we grew up.
Oh.
I don't remember. I think I remember like Utopia, the text-based role-playing game online that I think is still going on, and RuneScape being like, and MapleStory and shit like that being the early examples of, oh yeah, you can fuck around with this stuff for free. But we looked at those being like, who the fuck wants to play this?
Yeah.
Whoa, man. Talk about Neopets though.
Yeah.
All right. That was the
Neopets.
shit.
I loved Utopia. I don't know if anyone out there remembers that game. That game was so good. And it was all text and like menus and stuff. And you would like
Sony had the rights to Neopets, and when they brought them in, we were all like, what the fuck is Neopets? And there was this one producer who was like, you have to trust me, people are going ape shit for this.
Yeah,
so I think Sony first party put out some shitty average Neopet platformers, but apparently, yeah, I mean that was a lot of kids' bread and butter back in the day was that game.
So,
and I would though was the kid that like my mom wouldn't let me buy stuff on it. It's like, no, you can't buy more lives. No, you can't buy the blue version of the pet. Like you get the yellow one that's free. Like we just were always, my mom was always like, I'm not spending money on that. She's like, those computer games are free, right? Like, because she would buy us real games at like Walmart. I have the Rugrats adventure game,
Right.
okay? But in her mind, it was like the games that you get on the internet when you go to like your little SportsIllustratedKids.com had like really awesome games when I was a kid, but she's like, those are free. And so like she took Neopets as the same thing. Like, no, that's free. And like, you don't pay for that. And that's probably part of why now as an adult, I'm still like, yeah, it's free. And I don't want to pay for it because I was totally my mom.
I came up in the generation where every game was a microtransaction called a quarter.
right.
Yeah. That's a huge part of it.
You know, I remember I was pitching a game at E3 once and the publishers were like, we love it, but the gamers will eat us alive, where it was a shooter. And you know, every day you got like 50 lives. And once you ran out of lives, just like in the arcade, you put in like, you know, $1 and you get 50 more lives.
Oh, wow.
And they were like, that would do really well, but we would get slaughtered. I want to say one real quick thing on this is I remember going to a DICE conference because you were talking about the iPhone really brought about the race to the bottom. And certainly it was an accelerant, but this was before the iPhone. This was a DICE conference and there was a debate between a person from, I forget who made Maple Story. It wasn't Nexon. Maybe it was Nexon or whatever.
I'll look it up.
Or one of those battle cart games and all that. And Kelly Flock, an executive from Sony, and he was sort of arguing the side of buying games is better. And the other guy was arguing the side of, dude, free to play is making so much money. And I remember it like it was yesterday where the free to play guy said, well, let me give you an example. He said, you guys have to spend 2.5 years and so many millions of dollars to make a game. You put it out. You don't really know if it's going to work, blah, blah, blah. He says, just the other day, we made a pair of sunglasses that we already had in the game. And it took an artist about 10 minutes to turn the sunglasses red. And then it took a programmer about half a day to put it into the system. And we've already sold about $2 million worth of red sunglasses.
Wow.
And Kelly was just like, yeah, I can't argue with that. He's like, you win. And he was done. So, I mean, you know, it's hard to argue with, you know, the customer says they want it.
Totally. I think,
what are you going to do? Not do it?
I think it's I think it's why video games deserve like a greater spectrum of understanding and like splitting these things into silos and understanding them differently. Because Maple's Story, by the way, is published by Nexon, but Wizet is the developer, the South Korean developer. Wizet. And I remember when Maple Story came out and I knew people that were really, you know, finally came out here. I was nerdy enough to know that it was like in Asia for several years before that, even, you know, reading on GameFAQs and all the rest. But I always just othered those games in my mind, not as a value judgment per se, although I guess it is inherently a value judgment, but just to be like, those aren't real games. These are the real games on console or on PC or whatever. And I guess I still carry that with me to this day. But I just worry I think people have a very one-track mind when they look at the reason things are successful, but they don't worry about how or why things become successful and who loses when things become successful and why those things lose and what the ramifications are and the unintended consequences. And that's the kind of shit I worry about with free-to-play, because I just can't get beyond people. Listen, inflation's out of control. The economy is not great. Money's always been tight for many people, and I understand that. But I didn't grow up with an expectation that I would be able to just play whatever I wanted and just have access to whatever I wanted, and things were too expensive. I just understood that sometimes I couldn't afford the high-end PC. I couldn't afford to have all the consoles I wanted at the time I wanted them, or whatever the case might be. And that mentality,
you know what you did grow up with it. Today's kids probably don't as much, although I guess they have the internet, but with YouTube. But, you know, we had really, you know, the best programs were on network TV that were free. Other than, you know, ads, but it wasn't like, I mean, you're younger than me, but I mean, I know certainly with Dagan, it was like, we didn't have a lot of choice.
No,
we eventually had cable, but even before cable, it was like, you got ABC, NBC, CBS, and I hope something's good on, and we didn't have to pay for anything, but you know, So I think it just kind of I don't know. I think it ebbs and flows. But I will tell you one thing: one of last year's best games was free to play, which was Wordle. A lot of people in the video game sphere don't talk about Wordle like it's worth talking about. It's a fucking brilliant game. People are still playing it. I still play it every day.
New York Times bought it, right?
Yeah, they bought it. The guy made $1
really?
million, and there's an editor for it now. It's part of their package, but you can still play it for free, and it's fantastic.
How much did they pay for it?
$1 million to the one guy who made it.
Oh, $1 million. I thought you said $1 billion.
No.
It's like,
I
holy
think
shit.
that's right. Yeah.
God, I hope he got more than that. That seems to be such a.
Maybe
that
I'm
seems
wrong,
to be
but
so
I want to
low.
say it was $1 million. I mean, it's not. It's not Activision money.
That does seem low.
Yeah, hold on. How much?
But $1 billion is a quarter of what Star Wars.
You know what's cooler than $1 million?
I'm looking it up. Yeah, $1 million. What?
Wow.
That's what it
I
says,
would take
right?
it. That's
some
what I was going to
Dr.
wish
Evil
for from
shit.
the genie.
Dude, I would have never sold that for $1 million.
$1
No, I know.
million?
I think the challenge with it though is you can't really own it. You can own the word Wordle, but you can't really own play mechanics. So you are going to get a world of ripoffs,
Right.
And you may as well get something.
Yeah, get it while
versus
the going's good. I totally. Have you guys seen my nephew Declan, or our nephew Declan, introduced me to this, and I play sometimes. It's like the grid game where, and it's in sports, but I'm sure it's with everything where so the NFL, it'll be like the x-axis or the y-axis will be like Eagles logo, running back, Super Bowl champion. And then on the other side, it'll be like Kansas City Chiefs, New York Jets, league MVP. And you have to put names of people that fit within the Y and the x-axis at the intersection. So it's like a league MVP that played for the Chiefs.
No,
I have not seen that with sports, but I've seen it with lots of topics, and that's on the New York Times page as well.
That's good shit.
They have a game like that. Yeah.
I love it. I when he was showing it to me in the sports realm, and I'm like, how is I'm like, whoever, this is brilliant. I can't believe that people haven't monetized the shit out of this yet and start gambling on it. Which I assume is going to be right around the corner because we gamble on everything in the sports rather. Well, anyway, I just wanted to touch base on that. We don't have to linger too much on the topic. I just I was thinking about it and how much I'm just not. It's so anathema to me. Like I don't even understand how to interact with those games. Maybe I have to open my mind to them a little bit more. And I think maybe one of these MiHoYo stuff I think I can do without. And Project Mugen, I think, is Chinese as well. I don't really want to play those games, but I'm going to eventually have to buckle and break and just let it go. So maybe I'll give one of those a go.
I played one of those recently. I don't care for those games. I think everything those games are doing, except the social part, you get better in other standalone games. And I don't know if you like card games, but Marvel Snap, man, that's the shit. It's easy to play. It's not one of these Magic the Gathering things. It's complicated. It's the simplest fucking little game. And it's a fucking joy.
Yeah, that's the thing is that if the customizable card game is not too difficult, then I am into it. And I liked Magic. We talked about that recently on the show. Actually, I liked Magic way back in the 90s and around the time it came out, and barely really understood it, but did. But yeah, the last game I got into, what was that card game I was playing, Micah? It wasn't was it Inscription that it was called?
That's a great game.
I don't know.
But I don't know if that was the right one.
Inscription, where you're sitting at the table with the mystery character and there's candles.
Oh no, that's not the right one. I'm thinking of some other game. God, I wish I can remember it on the top of my head, but it was a card. Oh, Slay the Spire. That was the last card game I got into.
That is the one.
That game was dope.
Yeah.
The once in a while they suck me in, and that was a perfect football. That was a perfect football game. I was also it reminded me of Returnal a lot, just in the sense that I was frustrated that I wasn't better at it, so I kept playing it because I was like, what the fuck, until I finally.
Do you play sports games? I just now started playing Madden. The new Madden has enough of an arcade setting that I've been like, this is finally I can play Madden. Do you play any sports games?
I haven't played Madden in probably 10 years. So it's right. But I used to review the NHL games at IGN, but that's been a long time too. So
got it.
But yeah, I don't play. I love sports games. I just they used to be a huge part of my child, like SNES especially, and into PS1 and on PS2. Yeah, every year I bought NHL and Madden. But
playing Baldur's Gate, playing Starfield.
Me?
Come on. Yeah.
No. What am I playing right now? I just platinumed out the original Alan Wake, and now I'm playing Sea of Stars.
Sea of Stars is good. I played a little bit of that.
Yeah, and I'm going to move on to Infinity Strash, the new Dragon Quest game, but that comes out next week. So
you're not going to give Baldur's a try?
I don't like CRPGs. Like I've watched enough of it to know it's not going to be for me. Both Starfield and Baldur's Gate are just too big for what I'm looking for at this time.
Yeah, that's fair. Sea Stars is cool. I mean, it's very old school Chrono Trigger. Well, it's turn-based, but you know what I'm saying? It's got that flavor, which I like a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
I was also one of 500 people apparently to play Immortals of Avium, and I platinumed it and I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
I'm going to buy it when it's like $20 on Black Friday.
Yeah, it's going to be probably even cheaper.
I almost bought it, and I'm like, $70? No, I'm not buying this for $70. Like, I finally bought Callisto because it was $20. It's like, if you don't get good reviews, I'm not giving you $60, $70. And I hate to say it, but, you know, I mean.
That's fair.
Why would I, you know. Anyway,
I felt bad for him. I bought Immortals for $70 because I felt bad for it. I was like, I feel bad for this game. Like, what? It's so much better than people are talking about, and I don't know why.
I hear it's really fun.
Yeah, it's just withered away. Like, I was talking to an analyst friend of mine in the industry, and I was like, how many copies do you think this game sold? And he's like, dude, tens of thousands, probably, something like that. I'm like, damn, dude, they ate shit. And it definitely
they shut it down. They shut the studio down.
Yeah, they laid everyone off. So,
that sucks.
All right, my friends. Well, that's it. On that high note, let's go around the horn and say goodbye to everyone. Jaffe, it was good to be with you this week. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you guys for having me as always. I always enjoy it. It's very, very fun. Good conversations. And now I'm going to go eat some mayonnaise and watermelon.
Nice. Sick.
Nice.
Micah, good to see you as always. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us today. I know you're very tired, probably.
No, yeah, this was a lot of fun. I'm excited I finally got to do a show with Jaffe. I just have to establish.
How was it? What'd you think?
No, this was a great ton of fun. You know,
out of 10. Out of 10. How was it?
15 out of 10.
Wow.
All right. The man in person does not compare to the man in the emails. All right. This was an excellent experience, but I got to set the record straight and just say Last Stand Media, we're a pro anal sex company. I don't want to get the wrong ideas out there.
Are you going to put out like a butt plug that has like Colin's face?
Yeah, we should.
End of it?
We could. We absolutely could.
The smug would sell the shit out of them.
The smug natty face.
And you know the best part about your emails?
What?
Is you open them with howdy. That's the best thing in the world. Oh. I love it.
Howdy.
Yeah, no, howdy, or you get like an ahoy. Which I always whenever I write letters to my grandma, I'll usually start with like ahoy Grammy, and it really gets her going, you know. So my dad really picked up on that. He's like, your greetings to grandma always make her laugh. So
do me a favor,
I try to make the emails a little fun.
Christmas time, I'm going to send your grandmother a present. I want to send her some really complicated bed sheets. Just see what happens.
Yeah, see. And Dagan, goodbye to you.
Mike has never given me a 15 out of 10.
No.
She never even gave me a 14 out of 10.
I don't think you ever asked for a rating, though.
I never did.
That's true.
And I don't want to know.
Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to us today, Dake. Good to see you
as
always.
It was fun. I'm going to go animate a commercial all weekend. It's going to be wonderful.
Oh, be good. Have fun. And
it's only been 25 years. I should still work all weekend. No, it's fine.
Yeah, good.
I'm still making my bones.
Yeah. All right, my friends. I appreciate you guys gathering with me today. Thank you all out there for your love, kindness, and support of all things Last Stand Media. We appreciate you. Couldn't do it without you. Patreon.com/Last Stand Media for early ad free access. LastStandMedia.store for merch. Till next time. Goodbye. Constellation is a product of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show was conceived by and is directed and hosted by me, Colin Moriarty. My co-host is my brother, Dagan Moriarty. The show is produced by Last Stand's executive producer, Dustin Furman, and is edited by associate producer, Ben Smith. All Last Stand theme music is by Ramon Narvaez, and all of our graphics and logos are by Dagan Moriarty. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's podcasts, including Constellation, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest support tier, and we're infinitely grateful for your thoughtful and kind contributions to our independent endeavor.